Stillman and Company 1025 1063. The game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are live today from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Ian is here today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
So here's what we're going to do today. Will Levis is supposed to talk at some time between 2:30 and 3:30. And if he starts talking when Chris Sanders is not on the show, we will take it live. If Chris Sanders is on the show, we will not take it live. And I've just decided I'm not rearranging my whole day to have Will Levis get up there to tell us how great he is and make up players on the other team. So that's how we will do this today. Meanwhile, I'm a little sad today, Ian.
Why? What happened?
I don't have the YouTube chat in front of me. And the YouTube chat the last couple of days, well, it's been a war zone. It's been a lot of positivity, a lot of Jared defending, a lot of Jared hating. And there's been one sentiment amongst the Bobos who just, through and through, we're going to win the next three, Jared. But the one constant from multiple people has been, it's only 2 games. That's all I'm hearing. It's only 2 games. I saw Big Joe had the stat that you've got a 25% chance of making the playoffs, period, if you start 0-2. And that's for everybody. So that's for teams that have quarterbacks like Cincinnati and are 0-2. Baltimore, 0-2. Jacksonville just paid their quarterback $55 million a year, 0-2. That those teams have a 25% chance. Now, if you've got an 0-2 record and your quarterback stinks, I'm sure it's not as high as 25%. But that's okay. Because it's only 2 games, everybody says. So Brian Callahan met with the media today as they kind of kick off week 3 against Green Bay. And Brian Callahan was asked about patience given this 0-2 start.
Rome wasn't built in a day. A lot of new coaches, a whole bunch of new players. How hard is it to stress patience and trust and everything?
Hold on, stop that for a second.
Players and also,
who's asking that question? Is that Jake? Who's asking that question?
I do not know.
Coach, Rome. If it's Jake, I'm going to feel bad because I like Jake, but I don't think that was Jake.
Jake Lyman?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
But Jake was in the press conference on Sunday, right?
I'm not sure.
I think I heard some stuff that sounded like, so if it's somebody that I know, I apologize ahead of time. Don't get worked up. But again, Coach, Rome wasn't built in a day. Do you feel like just ask the question? Play the cut.
Rome wasn't built in a day. A lot of new coaches, a whole bunch of new players. How hard is it to stress patience and trust and everything to both your players and also yourself?
I don't have any problem with it. I don't mean that to come off the wrong way, but I'm very confident in our process. I'm very confident in our coaches. I'm very confident in what we do and how we do it. That also goes for the players. I'm incredibly confident in the players that we have, the players that we've added. I believe very much in what those guys stand for what the locker room represents, for how they come to work every day. All of those things. We don't have the tangible results yet that come with wins, but all of the other things are working the way they're supposed to. And that part gives me a ton of faith in the process. And I actually just talked to our leadership group today that, the definition of faith is belief in something without proof. And right now we don't have any proof that we're doing things the right way when it comes to wins and losses, but that's coming. And I believe in all those things very, very much. And I believe in my ability. I believe in the ability of people in this building to make sure that we get things squared away and keep pushing forward. So that part I don't have a problem with. There is some growth. There's some things that we have to get better at in a hurry. There's a patience part, but again, like I said earlier, there's also an urgency part that goes into whatever we have to get better at. We have to get better at it fast because there's still good teams every week we go out there. There's good teams. You don't play right, they're going to beat you. And we got to be on the other end of that where we take advantage of a team that doesn't do things the right way enough. And so it's a process. It's ongoing, but trust me, there's plenty of urgency to get to that landmark. And I would love to come in here on Monday after a win. I'd feel really good about that.
Okay. He says he's patient. He says he trusts the character in the locker room. He basically says, I believe, I'm patient. I know this is going to take time, but I know we also have to win. So it's good to know that Brian Callahan's patient. It's good to know that he's preaching patience to his players in the locker room who he believes will listen and blah, 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 and all that stuff. That's great. Here's my real question, though. Are his bosses? You know who I'm talking about. And this is the important thing to know, because I do think Brian Callahan is a good guy. I think he is a very good guy. I know him a little bit, and the little bit I know I like a lot. I think Brian Callahan's a good coach. I don't know that. We'll see. Those things will be determined. But I do think that Brian Callahan's brand of ball, if he has the right players, could work in the NFL. I am optimistic about his ability to coach. But is he going to be able to do it with bosses that, again, the key word here is patience, and they have shown us over the last couple of years they don't have a lot of it? That's the real question. I mean, earlier today I was listening to the morning show when Kaharski was in and brought up the fact that since John Robinson's been fired, since the owner basically decided, I'm taking over, since that moment occurred, the Titans have won 25% of their games. More people have gotten fired. First, it was the GM, the offensive coordinator, the line coach. Then later on, it was the head coach. The owners changed the management structure 3 times since signing the coach and the GM to matching contract extensions in January of 2022. We can bag on Carolina all we want. And the fact that Mel Kiper Jr. is on TV just laying into the Panthers. And we can bag on them and Tepper and everything else. Since he's owned the team, they've won 28% of their games. Tepper's problem? He's not very patient. That's why Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield are excelling in other places, because they went to organizations that have a clue. Again, Tampa and Minnesota aren't the brightest organizations in the NFL, but they're smarter than Carolina. Which again brings me back to here. There was a lot of sunshine that was pumped in the offseason. It came from the owner, it came from the GM, it came from the president of football operations, who we don't even really know what he does, and it came from the head coach. Whether it was outright just Brian Callahan sitting down with Taylor Lewan saying, I think we're going to be better than people think this year, or whether it was little things where Rand didn't say it, but he said it, talking about, Calvin Ridley chose to come here because of the vibe that we have here in the building and what we're building and what we're growing and what we're molding and they got fans really excited. And I can tell you right now that for the most part, a lot of you fans at 0-2, given the way we've seen the 2 losses occur, are not very patient. I'll be frank, I'm not the most patient person in the world either. Now, that being said, it does kind of feel like oftentimes I'm the one who, when it comes to firing people around here, is, I think it might be a little too quick to pull the trigger, but that's okay. I'm not the most patient person in the world, and I will admit that. Now, I understand that losing this season may actually provide the benefits of being able to draft a young quarterback, but then even if you do that, they still have to be patient if they do it. The reason I say this, the reason I bring this up is because maybe there's a chance that Brian Callahan won't actually be able to implement all the things and all the changes and everything that he wants this team to be, because I don't know how patient ownership is or is not. Again, Caroline kept making a point when John Robinson got fired, and I think it's pretty telling. And the point she kept making was, if you didn't like Julio Jones, or you didn't like Jadeveon Clowney, or you didn't like Isaiah Wilson, or you didn't like Vic Beasley, why'd you give him a contract extension after all of those things went down? You knew that those things were failures when you gave him a contract extension. Why? And there's no real rational explanation for that. Just like there's no real rational explanation for why did you tell Diana Rossini on Thanksgiving that no matter what happens, Mike Vrabel's going to be the head coach, only to change your mind 6 weeks later? Somebody help me out here. So, again, it's great that Brian Callahan's patient. Every coach, every general manager, every coordinator, every quarterback is going to argue that they need more time. The only time where I don't think there was really an argument that somebody needed more time was Mariota in year 5 when we were trying to figure out whether or not he was the guy. At that point, it was like, yeah, it's been enough. But again, big picture, when it comes to Brian Callahan being patient, that's great. But does it matter if Brian Callahan's patient? Because we have no idea how patient his bosses are, other than to go off of what history says, which is not very patient. So I don't know how Amy is going to feel if they go 0-3. I don't know how Amy feels at 0-2. But I certainly don't know how she's going to feel at 0-3, especially if 3 comes at home to Malik Willis. But I would just give Brian Callahan some advice. And I would just say, while I agree with what you said, patience, it's going to take time. This quarterback kind of stinks. And everybody went into this year trying to figure out whether or not he was going to be the guy. And it looks like he's not. The people you work for, just some advice. They're not very patient. They don't always act rationally. So just be aware of that. And good luck on Sunday. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. And there's a little bit of news that I hate and that you hate. I'm going to tell you, you're going to hate this. I hate it. You're going to hate this. And it might not help the Titans win on Sunday, but it might help with the anger if they lose. We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. Again, that's 615-737-1025 here on the program. By the way, the Predators have signed Philip Tomasino to a 1-year, $825,000 contract. Good luck for him. Talk about patience. I've had enough patience with him. Whatever. 615-737-1025. It's Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106 for the game.
Do you prepare that you think Malik's going to be the starter on Sunday? Do you prepare for that?
To me, it doesn't matter. We have to prepare to go play the Packers offense, whether it's with Malik or with Jordan Love. Schematically, it varies a little bit, but at the end of the day, we have to do our jobs well. We have to execute, be fundamentally sound, if you spend too much time worrying about that part of it, you lose track of what we need to be for our identity and our defense. Certainly, watch plenty of tape on Malik. Be ready for Jordan Love if he somehow ends up playing. We'll be ready for it, but you never just assume in this, that all of a sudden the guy's going to be out or not until you're told he's out. So we'll be ready for both players. Got plenty of film on Jordan from last year and from the first game, and you got film on Malik, and we practiced against Malik, so we know Malik well too. But again, it's only going to be about how we execute, and I think that's the most important part, is not to get too enamored with who's behind center, but more about how we do our jobs.
Brian Callahan says he doesn't care who starts a quarterback on Sunday for the Packers. Ian, do you care who starts on Sunday for the Packers?
Yes, I do.
I care too. And let me just say this. I saw video of Jordan Love, and remember, all they allow you to look at practice. And I assume that the Packer practices are probably similar to the Titans, where they let the TV cameras roll all the way out there. And here they are doing a little stretching. And here they are, catching a couple of footballs, and that's it. And then shut the cameras off. Time for practice. Everybody go inside. Don't look. So it was just Jordan Love in shorts and a T-shirt throwing the ball around a little bit. But Jordan Love was out there on the field. And let me just say this. I do not want Jordan Love on Sunday. I do not want to see Jordan Love for the Packers. And it's not just because it gives the Titans a better chance to win on Sunday. Now, I said this is bad news if Jordan Love plays. Because if Jordan Love plays, I assume the line flips immediately. Where I think Robbie said you're a 2.5-point favorite today, you're probably a 2.5-point dog tomorrow if, say, Matt LaFleur gets up to the podium and says Jordan Love's healthy enough to play. Now, Ian, you said it looks like officially Jordan Love was noted as limited.
I guess the injury report didn't come out, but LaFleur was speaking at the podium after practice, said he was limited today, would not elaborate how limited.
I hate that. Again, let me just say this for everybody out there. We want Malik, period. We want Malik. Now, if this were just about the Titans winning the game on Sunday, which for me it's not, but if it were just about winning the game on Sunday, of course we'd want Malik Willis. Because no matter how he played against the Colts, and I watched how he played against the Colts, and he was fine. He did what the coach asked him to do. He made one really good throw, which led to a touchdown. And then he made another throw to Romeo Doubs, where Romeo Doubs went up and came back to the ball and caught it. You know, the thing that Traylon Burks couldn't do on Sunday? Romeo Doubs went up, came down with the football, and it was a completion. The same thing Nick Westbrook-Akine dropped against the Chiefs when Malik played quarterback on Sunday Night Football a couple years ago. But the reason we want Malik is because we know Malik's not very good. Jordan Love's a $55 million quarterback. Malik sucks, and we know that. So that's the number one reason why I think we should all want to see Malik Willis on Sunday, because 0-3 is a death sentence. But the real reason why I want to see Malik on Sunday is because this is the ultimate put up or shut up moment for the Titans. If you lose at home on Sunday to Malik Willis, there is no telling how crazy the owner is going to go. And she may take it in stride. She may be cool with it. I don't know. It's like Willie says, she's a wild card. You know, with Tepper, we know Tepper in Carolina, he's just going to lose his cool no matter what. We don't know with Amy. But I don't think anybody gets a pass, whether it's the coach, the quarterback, the GM, the president of football operations, or even the people selling popcorn outside of Section 118. I don't think anybody gets a pass if they lose to Malik on Sunday. If you're 0-3 and you lose to Malik, that is the definition of rock bottom. If you're 0-3 and you lose to Malik, I hate to say this, but doesn't it feel like 0-3 and losing to Malik, we can start talking about tanking? Like we can start talking about, and you know me, I'm an anti-tank guy. But at 0-3 with a loss to Malik, can't we then start talking about tanking? And just burying the season? But if they lose to Jordan Love on Sunday, it's like, well, you were expected to lose to Jordan Love because Jordan Love's a $55 million quarterback. It's almost like Jordan Love playing on Sunday gives you the excuse for losing. And I don't like it. I mean, I expect the Titans to win on Sunday, regardless of who the quarterback is for Green Bay. I think it will be Malik, and I think that they will lose. Talking about the Packers, I think the Titans will win. I've already guaranteed that they will win if Malik plays because I know Malik's bad. So again, the number one reason why I hate this idea of Jordan Love out there on the practice field today is because I think the Titans are better off facing Malik Willis. The second reason I hate it is because, again, a loss to Jordan Love is expected. It's almost like, well, Jared, we knew we weren't as good as the Packers. They went to the divisional round of the playoffs last year. And it is that way with Jordan Love. With Malik, there is no excuse making. Because we all know Malik's terrible. And so I'm just going to tell you guys right now, I expect Malik to play. Not only do I expect Malik to play, I expect Malik to play on Sunday, and I expect Malik to lose. And I expect the Titans to be 1-2. And I expect a lot of people to say, see, Jared, see how this team has performed. But as of right now, when I saw that video, and again, if you beat the Packers with Jordan Love, like, what difference does it really make to me? Because I know that you don't have a good team, but that's one thing. If you lose to Malik, it's going to be, just an avalanche. Then it's really going to get crazy around here. And if you're not going to be good, at least be interesting. But I think the Titans are going to win on Sunday. Honestly, I think the Titans are going to win no matter who the quarterback is. But I think they're definitely going to win if it's Malik. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, and our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Josh is going to kick us off today on the program. Josh, go ahead.
Hey, Jared, how are you?
Good.
Personal note, there's a guy named William Bellaford who I worked with for years. He speaks really highly of you. I like you, Jared.
It's a good man.
You're a good dude, man.
It's a good man.
He really is.
Thank you, Josh.
That said, that's where the love ends right now. I think you're off base. I think you're wrong. I'm going to tell you why. I unfortunately have been fired from a job. It was kind of a high-end job, high profile in my company at the time. And there was a dynamic that nobody knew about. And me and the person at the top didn't get along about something that nobody else knew about. I let that person have my mind, and they got rid of me. Nobody ever knew about it. And I don't think Amy is crazy. I don't think that she just makes wild decisions. I think something happened between her and John Robinson that we don't know about. And the A.J. Brown issue, man, she may have told him, this is what I want to happen. This is how I'd like it to happen. And he just didn't do it. He didn't pull it through. I like Amy. I like Amy a lot. I like the direction we're headed. I would agree with you. I hope that we play Malik next week. Never wanted Levis. Don't have any confidence in Levis. And I hope we sink or swim with that guy the rest of the season. We'll see how it goes.
Thank you for your call, Josh. I'm just going to tell you right now, and I don't want to totally relitigate the John Robinson thing, though it boggles my mind. And again, John Robinson screwed a lot up at the end. Like, screwed a lot up. I wouldn't have fired him right then and there. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't have ever fired him. But he wouldn't have fired him in first place in the middle of the season. But I can tell you right now, everything that you just told me, this idea that, hey, I let the person who was my boss have a piece of my mind and they showed me the door and they this and they that, not to relitigate the whole John Robinson firing. That didn't happen. Like, I'm just telling you right now, that didn't happen. John Robinson, from what I've been told, John Robinson showed up to work and Burke Nighthill, the team president, walked into the office with Amy on the cell phone and handed Robinson the cell phone, and Amy fired him right then and there. That is my understanding of the situation. And my understanding is it is completely performance related. And my understanding is that maybe it had been brewing underneath the surface with Amy for a while, but that Amy did not fire him. And again, this is my understanding. This is not what I believe, but this is what I've been told, It is my understanding that the A.J. Brown trade is not a decision that Amy was upset about and fired John over, even though I think that there probably is some of that. And not only do I think there probably is some of that, I also think, and I've never talked to John Robinson about this, but if he could do it over again, he probably wouldn't have traded A.J. Brown. And it's okay to say, I got that one wrong, because boy, did he get it wrong. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025 here on the Stillman and Company program. We'll roll through some of your phones, and we will do it next here on Stillman and Company. Let's talk Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. In fact, I had Hiller out at my home today. That's right. We had a drain that needed tending to. Hiller sent one of their best and brightest out there. And honestly, it was like 45 minutes and everything was voila fixed. That's what I love about Hiller. I booked it right on my phone Monday afternoon. And I obviously couldn't do the afternoon on Tuesday, but I could do 8 a.m. on Wednesday. And that's exactly when Hiller showed up. And they were there this morning and they took great care of me like they always do. And they'll take great care of you. And you've heard me talk about how being with Hiller is like a family. And this month, Hiller is treating you like family with their Friends and Family Savings event. Happy Hiller Club members save up to $25 off your first HVAC, plumbing, and electrical repair. And everybody else who's not a Happy Hiller Club member gets 10% off. I got my 25% off today. And boy, I'm glad I got my 25% off. So present your coupon and save. Visit happyhiller.com today to download a coupon. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. My guys, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
I know different roster moves, different schemes, but when you watch that, how similar was what they were doing with Malik to what you might have envisioned doing with him?
Oh, there's definitely some things that they did with him that that we did elements of as he was here. But yeah, they've opened up some things that they probably don't do a lot of with Jordan Love. but that Malik has a unique skill set for. And I thought it was really well designed with the quarterback runs, the RPOs, all the motions and the different styles of runs. It was very, very well designed.
That was Brian Callahan talking about Malik on Sunday against Indianapolis. The return of Malik on Sunday. Malik week. By the way, we talk about patience and how Brian Callahan says, hey, I preach patience and we got the right guys in the building and we got the right guys in the locker room and I talked to the team today and the leaders and all that. You're going to be playing 2 backup quarterbacks, I believe, over the next 2 weeks. Like, I believe it's going to be Malik on Sunday, and I think you're going to win. And I believe it's going to be Skylar Thompson at Miami on Monday Night Football. We shall see if the primetime Blues follow Skylar Thompson the same way they did Tua, who could never win a primetime game to save his life in Miami. That we shall see. One texter says, sorry, I know you think we're going to beat the Packers, but you also said the Titans would win against the Jets 9-7. I think the Titans are going to get their ass beat against Malik. I got to tell you, I saw somebody, I forget who it was, put this up on Twitter today that said that they think that 60% of Titan fans are rooting for Malik Willis to win the game on Sunday. In fact, let's just go around the room. Chase is in the room right now. Let's go around the room. Would you be upset if Malik Willis comes in and just spanks the Titans on Sunday? And I mean upset, like angry, like the way we felt after Sunday's game.
I mean, a little bit, but I also, like, at this point, wouldn't be shocked by anything.
But would you enjoy it at least a little bit, the fact that it's the irony of Malik coming in here and doing it?
Oh, sure. And then I'd wait for the announcement that Ryan Tannehill's returning to the Dolphins, and he does it the next week.
Ian, would you be upset if the Titans just got spanked by Malik?
No, I would not.
See, I mean, I got to tell you, I'm going to the game on Sunday. In fact, let me take out the fake news phone and let's see what the weather says it's going to be. Remember, it said it was going to rain all day, and it was the most beautiful, comfortable September Sunday in the history of Nissan Stadium. So Sunday, we have a high of 94. And I sit out on the east side of the building, which is where the sun comes through. This is why I can't wait for the new stadium, because I'll never have to deal with this once that new stadium gets built. But I'll be out there in the sun. I'll be baking a high of 94. So a high of 94 on Sunday, and I think I'd probably get a little angrier at the games when it's hot outside, because it's like being in the middle seat on an airplane. It's just uncomfortable. And I still think I will take solace out of the fact that if Malik were to come in here and beat him, that it's like, okay, enough with your vibes talk that we had all off season. Oh, the vibes in the building are so great. Guys can be themselves. Big bad Vrabel, he's the problem. And we'll go back to every single one of those cuts during the offseason where the Titans just made excuses for things that, like, Levis threw the ball in the lake, and then they called the show to say, no, it bounced in the lake. And then Jim Wyatt had to edit his story at the Titans website. No, it bounced in the lake. You go 0-3 to Malik, and I'm going to act like he just threw the ball purposely in the lake, because that's the only explanation. All the excuses that were made, Denard's defense, that's really good defense out there. We're practicing against Seattle's defense. They're really good defense we're practicing out there. That's why offense comes with the ball. If you lose to Malik, oh my God. And I know, a lot of times people do this where they kind of feel like they think that I'm thinking like 3 steps ahead. But I'll have an opinion on something and they'll say, you're just saying this so that when that happens, you can react this way. And I have said 100 times, I never do that. Like, I picked the Titans to win 9-7 last week against the Jets. I'm sure there are some people out there that are like, you're just picking the Titans to win, so when they lose, you can get mad that they lost. And the truth is, until that guy texted it in there, Ian, I forgot that I picked the Titans to win 9-7 on Sunday.
Yeah, you did.
I hadn't mentioned it one time because of my brain's on to the next. So it's not like, Jared, you're just setting this up so that you can go crazy when they lose to Malik. It's not that. It's that, how could you not go crazy if they lose to Malik after the last 3 years of Malik. How could you not go crazy? And that to me is very exciting. Like that, again, just then we'll know. Then we'll know, and we'll stop talking about feelings and vibes and those things, and we'll talk about what this team needs to do to get better, i.e. a right tackle, which, again, it's too late to fix right tackle, but it is what it is. Jay and Laverne says, I wouldn't be upset if Malik wins. It'll be funny because they did Malik wrong. There'll be a lot of that now. And I don't think they did Malik wrong. In fact, I think they did Malik a solid by trading him to the Green Bay Packers for a bag of footballs, because Malik got to be the backup in Green Bay, and now Malik's got a game, and there's confidence in Malik, and Malik's probably having fun again. And unlike that game that he won in Houston a couple of years ago where Malik really did nothing, he completed 5 passes and he threw an interception. Malik actually helped the Packers win. He wasn't the reason the Packers won the game, but he helped the Packers win. And so I got to give him credit for that. And he deserves credit for that. And that must be a great feeling. So I actually think they did Malik right in the end. Problem is, if you lose to Malik, it's like that guy could have been on your team, and instead he beat you instead of Sean Clifford. One texter says, dude, your first segment stinks. I mean, I can't help you on that. Again, Brian Callahan can get up there in front of everybody and he can talk about patience all he wants and say, oh no, we're going to be patient and I'm patient and I've got all the, again, I'm just telling you what the scoreboard says. And the scoreboard says that the owner around here is not a very patient person. And so I don't know why we do this whole thing where we pretend like that's not what we've seen over the last 2 years. Again, this time last year, 3 games into the season, 2 games into the season, however many games, Ian, you want to count it into the season. This time last year, if I had told you that Mike Vrabel would be fired by the end of the year, you would have thought it's crazy. Crazy. They were 1-1. They had just beaten the Chargers in overtime. And if I had said Mike Vrabel would be fired, you guys are, Jared Stillman's just saying that to get people angry. And that's what happened. So once that stuff happened, you can be mad about me saying that, yeah, I'm just going to tell you right now that the way the owner reacts to things is not usually in a positive way. So just be careful. I know you want to be patient, but Texter says Amy is not going to fire Callahan. I didn't say Amy's going to fire Callahan. Amy might go nuts though. I heard them talking today on the morning show about what happens if another punt gets blocked. And I do think that has to be a discussion that has to be had around here, because the new special teams coach has been here for 2 games and they've gotten 2 punts blocked. And I will say this again, if I own the team, I'd kind of leave it to the coaches and things like that. And then when I decide that I don't like what I see, then I'll just change that. But I mean, I think they should fire the special teams coach if they get another punt blocked. I think they should fire the special teams coach if they get another punt blocked this year, much less this week. I don't think Amy's going to fire Brian Callahan, but that doesn't mean that Amy's not going to demand changes and go crazy and everything else. Because the way I view giving somebody a contract extension is kind of the same as hiring them again. So when she gave Robinson and Vrabel contract extensions and then fired Robinson 12 games into it, to me, that's the same as firing a guy in his first year the way Tepper fired Frank Reich last year. So, I mean, come on now. One texter says, so if the Packers win on Sunday, do you wish Malik was the quarterback? I'm sure 10% are dumb enough to think that, but wins are not just a quarterback stat. Well, I would argue that winning and losing is a quarterback stat for this year's team. That if you had a better quarterback, and I don't think that Malik is better than Levis, but if you had a better quarterback, I think you would be 2-0. I mean, I'll just say this, and again, we'll have to watch the game. If the Packers come in here and they win on Sunday, it'll be because Malik didn't do anything. But it'll also mean that Malik was capable of running the game plan of not doing anything for a second week in a row. The same thing that Will Levis could not do at Chicago when the coach looked at him on the sideline before the fourth quarter and said, whatever you do, our defense can win the game. Just let them win the game. And if somebody wants to call in, again, I'll have to see the game to have an opinion on it. But if somebody wants to call in on Monday, if they lose to Malik, and they want to say that they made a mistake and they should have given Malik the same chances they've given Levis, I'm not going to agree with it. But you would be entitled to that opinion if Malik comes in here and wins. But I tell you, there'd be a lot of people happy for Malik. There'd be a lot of people angry that they lost to Malik, and a lot of people happy for Malik. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Chris Sanders will join us next on the program. He said last week that he was confident in Levis turning it around because his mistakes were correctable. How does he feel after seeing the same mistakes again? Speaking of Chris, join me, and Derek Mason at John Bon Jovi's JBJ's this Sunday from 9:30 to 11:30 for the award-winning pregame show. Again, 9:30. They open up, I believe, at 9 at JBJ's. They want Titan fans there. We don't want to be overridden with Packer fans. And there's a pretty good chance that's going to happen. So we want the Titan fans, come on out and come on early. The award-winning pregame show is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Sundeck Nashville, Sloan's Motorcycle ATV, and award-winning Blue Note Juke Joint and Blue Note Crossroads Bourbon. Tune into 94.9 The Fan today as the Sounds take on Norfolk. First pitch at 4:35. Coverage also available on the 94.9 The Fan app and at 949thefan.com. Sounds baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Family Leisure, 5 Points Roofing, and Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Last week, Chris Sanders came on this program and he defended Will Levis vehemently, saying that his mistakes were in fact correctable. He, in fact, picked the Titans because of Aaron Rodgers. He joins us now on the program presented by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Chris, we start there.
Why you gotta sound like that, man?
How do you feel about your quarterback after he blew the game again with a stupid mistake?
I mean, it's tough because, it's kind of like this. Coach Callahan made a quote. He said this. He said, same story as the last one. And then Levis out of his own mouth said the same. It's like deja vu. And if you look at the Chicago game, it's the exact same things. You got turnovers, you got special teams, and all these things that are going on. And, it's a little disappointing because the defense is playing light out, and then 1 or 2 turnovers, you actually just mess up the whole game.
See, here's what bothers me when it comes to Levis, and that is the fact that I know the coach says that he was improved, but I'm not really sure I see the improvement that he's talking about. I mean, even the ball he threw to Ridley was like I think they said it had like a 17% chance of being completed. I thought it probably should have been intercepted, and it ended up being completed. And so I see the stat lines better, but I'm not really sure that the actual game, the play of it was better. So where's the improvement, Chris?
Yeah. I think when you talk about a coach saying it about his players, he's saying this. And this is
hold on, Chris. I'm going to put you on hold right now because I know you're calling on a landline. I think our line right there might be a little messed up there. Let's give Chris a buzz back, though. But again, that's the question I have because, I mean, I know he completed the pass to Ridley. I was looking up the Pro Football Focus numbers earlier today when it comes to Levis, and it was like they credit him with 2 big-time throws on Sunday against the Jets. And I'm like, what throws would we have seen from Will Levis that would have counted as big-time throws? I'm thinking the drop by Ridley was a big-time throw by Levis, and I can't give Levis credit. I saw that Kaharski had the next-gen stats saying that it was apparently like one of the worst passes or one of the hardest to complete passes that we've seen. Like one of the hardest to complete passes all season in the NFL. The hardest pass to complete, I believe, in week 2, and like maybe the 4th hardest pass to complete so far in the season. And it's like, to me, that was just pure luck. So again, when the coach says he's improved, I'm like, where has he improved? So Chris Sanders is back with us, presented by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. So Chris, where is the improvement in Levis?
When I really listen to what Coach was saying, and I'm a coach and I understand what he's talking about, he's improved in his skill set, drop back and all those things like that. But I think that he's declining in the decision making. The decision making is bad because if you look at, kind of what's going on, he'll throw a ball good here and there and make a play here and there. But then when you come to the decision making, when he rolls back, to the running back, and then a situation in the Chicago game where, all he has to do is take a sack and live another down. He just got to flip it out. I mean, just get sacked and live another down. So I think that when you're talking about in that situation, I think that Coach Callahan is talking about he's proven his skill set, but he needs to improve in his decision making. That's where the lacking is.
Do you think that? How did he improve his skill set from one week to the next?
I mean, you can kind of tell. I mean, you can tell his footwork was better. He was kind of talking about just kind of going through his reads, and he did see Jared. He did do some good things. I mean, you look at that pass that he threw to Ridley, the one he dropped, a great catch, and he threw it. No. The one where he caught for a touchdown. That one. I mean, that was a good ball placement. I thought that was a great catch.
Terrible throw. I thought the ball should have been intercepted.
Wow, my gosh! But he threw it to where only the receiver can catch it. That's how I saw it. I mean, Jared, danggummit.
The safety should have picked that ball off.
Jared,
Ridley made an incredible catch on that.
But he threw it right where only the receiver can catch it.
No, the DB could have caught it. The DB should have caught it.
Jared, if he throws it on a little to the left or a little to the right, it's picked off. He threw it right where the receiver. Watch Sauce. Watch Gardner Sauce. Watch him. He has no
Who?
idea where the ball's at. Sauce, whatever his name is, the defensive back. Whatever his dog. You know I'm bad with names. Sauce, the defensive back. He threw it to where only the wide receiver can catch it. I'm telling you, that was a good ball to me, because the only player that can make the play was Ridley, and that's why I threw a good ball.
So I thought the ball that Ridley dropped was a great pass. I didn't think that the touchdown was a great pass. But speaking of your confusion with names, Chris Sanders with us, presented by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Your boy PT. I mean, he gave up, according to Next Gen Stats, 13 pressures on Sunday. Now, Blake Bedingfield went and graded the tape, and he had, I think, 9 pressures. And I think Pro Football Focus had 9 pressures as well. PT's stats this year are terrible. He's been terrible. I mean, we know the right tackle story, Chris, but at the end of the day, where are we on the offensive line as a whole, and specifically the right tackle?
No idea. I mean, if you look at PT, that's funny because I went back and watched some of the film. I mean, he's really, really struggling in pass pro. I mean, look at his feet. His feet is consistently getting tangled up. I mean, when the pressure's coming off the edge, I mean, he can't really turn his body and be an athletic tackle. So, just kind of watching him, we always talk about, the way you get better is if you practice and practice and practice. I think that 1 year taking off, I think it really hurt him because you basically lost a whole year. You're losing reps. You're losing, your technique because you're not doing it. I just think that right now, the reason why he is struggling is because he really doesn't have a lot of experience of playing the right tackle. I know he played a lot at The Ohio State University. That's great, but you're talking about a whole different monster when you're coming to the NFL. So the reason why he's struggling is because he really hasn't played a lot of football at the next level.
Well, he had an entire season, though. His rookie year, he played the entire season at right tackle, and
but that's
he's a third-year pro.
Yeah, but he basically took a whole year off. Yeah, he played a little his rookie season, but then the next year, he gets suspended. That's a whole year off that you can get learning the technique, learning pass pros, learning the different techniques of what, the DNs are playing. So when you miss a whole year, you may be rested and be physically ready, but mentally, if you don't get those reps, you're going to see him struggling. That's why he's struggling right now. But just like we said, Jared, we always say to use this term. If you play the same record, you're going to be consistently having the same song. And we've been having the same song for the last 3 weeks, right tackle, right tackle, right tackle. And the right tackle's been struggling the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay, so with that point, could we ever just say that, maybe he's not good enough? It's always some excuse for why somebody can't do something for the Titans. And we never just say, well, maybe he just isn't very good.
But where do you go from here, though?
Well, that's the problem. That's why I complain about this in April and May. And people go, well, Jared, it's only March. They haven't even had the draft yet. And I'm like, that's because these are problems that you can fix in March and April and May. You can't fix them in September and October.
So what do you do now? Who are you going to put in there? I mean, who's going to step up at least, protect Will Levis or create some running lanes? What do you do? So I know everybody wants to get rid of him and everybody wants to put somebody else in there.
So you keep playing the same record and getting a different song, hoping for a different song?
I mean, but what do you do? Who's out on the market, though? Who would you get? Who can come in and play right away? I mean, I understand what you're saying, Jerry, and you're absolutely correct. But where do you go? Do you switch the offensive line? Do you put Latham at the right tackle and switch it up? So what do you do? It all depends on what Bill Callahan does and what he wants to do with this offensive line. So does he switch it up? Does he move Latham to right tackle or keep him at left tackle? What do you do? So those are the things or questions that we're not getting answered.
Chris, last one for you. How likely do you think it is that Malik Willis comes in here and beats the Titans on Sunday? And if that happens, what do you make of it?
He's going to come in here revs up. I heard through the grapevine, TD was telling me that Jordan Love is, practicing a little bit to this. I don't know if he's going to play or not. But you better believe that if Will Levis comes in here, I think they're going to protect him. And when I say protect him, they're not going to tell him to do a whole bunch of things. They're not going to tell him to go through a whole bunch of reads. They're going to make it simple. We're going to run the ball with Josh Jacobs, and you're going to throw some check down and let your guys make plays. So, even though he wants to throw the ball downfield and run around, they're going to make it so simple. Run the ball, stay in front of the chains, and take the ball out of his hands and let your running game be the choice.
I lied to you. I said last one now. Do you think they're going to lose to Malik on Sunday?
I think the Tennessee Titans are going to win. I mean, their back is against the wall, and I really do, because if I don't want this to happen. You start 0-3, then now everybody starts panicking. The fans start panicking. You start talking about special teams again. You start talking about the quarterback. I don't want it to be a situation to where you start changing a whole bunch of things, changing quarterbacks, changing this guy, changing that guy, because now it's like cards. You're not showing your hand, but you're actually showing your hand because you're changing everything up because you're trying to make something happen. So I hope they go out and win. I hope they win 21-17 so everybody get back in a happy spirit, but it's going to be a close game. And I'm going Tennessee Titans 21, Green Bay Packers 20.
Chris, great stuff. Appreciate your time as always. We're going to exit you out there quickly because Will Levis is up at the podium right now.
Necessarily, you don't need those bumps, but you see it across the league. But I do know that as we get going, we're going to get more comfortable and more fluid, and we're going to finally put together some complete games. I think we can all agree if we play 2 complete games, or even just a little bit more complete, two games, we're this close to 2-0. So we know that what we're capable of, and we know that it's going to be a sight to see when everything comes together.
How good did it feel to connect with Calvin, especially on the touchdown, because it seems like that's been something that you and him have been working on since camp to try and make sure you're on the same page?
Yeah, I felt great. I felt confident with my deep ball on Sunday. Just I feel like I was, when I was locked in on target and making my decision on where I was going to go with the ball, I felt like it was ending up where I wanted it to. So it was cool to feel that and to see that and to gain that confidence in our chemistry, just seeing him make that play of just pulling through and getting to the ground and making something happen. So that was really cool. And I'm just going to keep working on it and keep taking those shots. Same thing on the one trailing. I know he can make that play, and we're going to keep taking those shots and keep trusting our guys. Yeah, but that was cool to feel after, especially missing him a couple times week 1.
To what degree have you talked with the offensive line, or do you talk with the offensive line about what they're working on? And coach talked a little bit about they need in-game reps on some stuff, but there's urgency paired with that. How familiar are you with what's developing and what the situations might be while there's patience required?
Yeah, I'm just familiar with what the game plan is and what we're trying to get done as a unit, and I'm going to be there along the way to help them however I can. But we got areas to improve in across the board, and they know that. And in certain areas of just our offense and our philosophy and how we want to run games, and if we want to get to the team that we know we can be, then we know we need to clean those things up. So we're very locked in on at least pass protection and kind of what we're seeing and what we know our answers are, our problems are. And then in the run game, how I can help them with getting out of certain looks and re-IDing or stuff like that. So, we have a lot of work to do across the board, and a lot of guys are going to have opportunities to play and to show up and make plays for us. So I've got all the confidence in them and just got to keep being a leader for them.
Well, have you tried any non-football or non-traditional things in rewiring your brain, or is it more the commitment to reps and film, like you said off the top?
No, I think it's more so just football. I think it's important, like on my off days, taking like those few hours to just get away from football. And a lot of that's just been sitting on the couch watching football. So it's not like I have anything much going on during the season other than what we have at hand. But I wouldn't want it any other way. I find solace in this. And I think that's just the best way that I'm going to improve, is just putting all the focus that I can on my job.
Well, there's been a lot made about Callahan's sideline, mannerism when you threw that ball away. I believe what you said in the past, though, is he's great in terms of behind the scenes and how he works and coaches with you. Just kind of explain the type of teacher and coach he is. And I'm assuming you look back at that and didn't take that to heart.
Yeah, no, he told us straight up, he's not a yeller and a screamer, but he can be. And then there's certain situations that allow for that, and that definitely was one of those situations. So I didn't bat an eye at it. I took the coaching, and I knew I was yelling at myself in my head the same way he was yelling at me. So I know that it's just an emotional response that we all have after certain things like that, and we were right back to it. And he had obviously confidence in me right in that next play with taking that shot. So that was cool to feel, coming back onto the field after that turnover, even though came back with another one after that. But I don't have any problem with how he handled himself, and he's great mentality wise, and I connect with that really well.
You've talked a lot in the past about how you evolved with how you respond in stressful moments, emotional moments. When these last 2 weeks haven't gone the way you have, do you feel like you're still evolving in that regard, or are you kind of settled into how you know how to react?
I feel like I'm pretty settled in. I think one of the important things we talked about today as a team or as a group, and just having confidence regardless of, the seemingly disparity of the situation or moment. We got to come out here, whether we're 2-0, 0-2, 15-0, 0-15, with the same attitude, same confidence, knowing that we're going to go out there and beat the brakes off whoever we play. We need to have that confidence as a team, and we're building towards that. And it's great seeing guys coming out here on a Wednesday after a tough loss like that and playing with the intensity and focus that we did. And that's the only way that we're going to get ourselves in the best position to succeed on Sunday. So I'm proud of how we came out and did it today.
Harm's way, didn't take many big hits in your scrambles, but would you call those slides or what?
Yeah, this is why I don't slide, but it was kind of like I didn't remember until the last second, and I just went down. But yeah, I guess I can work on the technique a little bit, but it was nice not taking those hits.
You spent a lot of time with Malik last year. You have a possibility now to face off with him. What's that going to be like for you?
I'm pumped. I mean, I was excited for him to get the opportunity that he did in Green Bay, and then was even more excited or obviously not excited because of Jordan's situation, but it was cool for him to get the opportunity to play as soon as he did. And then for him to come into town, I know he's geared up and ready to play, but I love Lee. We just talked the other day, and just going to go out there and not focus on that part of it and really just focus on our side. But it is an exciting, cool little kind of fold in the game.
I know they make all kinds of resources available to you guys. When you use a word like rewiring, that sounds like something an expert could help you do. Have you talked to anybody with an expertise in something like that, or would you consider it?
Not in terms of like a sports psychologist, no. I've thought about it. Maybe if I wanted to connect with someone or do stuff with people that I have in the past. But I think my mind is in a healthy enough spot to move on, but it might be something that I'll incorporate in the future for sure.
What did the Packers do well this past Sunday, and what are some things you've got to be wary of facing that defense?
Weary of obviously the DC coming from being a college coach, and there's not a lot of film preseason games. It's pretty vanilla, and didn't show off too much. And then the last couple of weeks, there are differences in game to game, and we know that we're going to have new stuff that hasn't shown up at all. We're trying to use every resource that we can to kind of be ready for some of the non-traditional looks that he might be throwing at us in certain situations. But then personnel-wise, they got dogs across the field. I think it's all first-round picks on that defensive line, really good secondary. With the new defense and everything, they're learning it too, and it's their first few times as a full group being able to play and get into these games. But you can tell that they are, still very in tune with each other and in the spaces of the defense. And it's a tough defense to play against. We're going to have to take completions and just continue to get the ball down the field chunk by chunk and just stay on schedule because it's built for not allowing, a lot of shots. And we got to be smart with when we call them and we got to be smart with just taking the plays that are there. So got a lot of respect for their personnel, and it seems like the new DC's gotten them in a good spot and they're playing at a pretty high level.
So 2 weeks in, probably too early to determine, any kind of tendencies that you might be able to identify on film for a new defense like that.
We think we have a couple things, but we talk about the biggest key for us as an offense this week is sticking to our rules and trusting our eyes and having plays that we are comfortable with and that we can go out there and run without blinking against any coverage or against any look. So that's the thought process, offensively, and we just got to make sure that we just play our game and trust our eyes and make sure that the coaches put us in the best position to succeed.
Comes back and maybe not quite at 100% yet. Is there some adjustment that you guys have to deal with a little bit as opposed to what you were working with last year when he was full speed the whole time?
Just adjustment with like reps in practice. He's finally getting along where he's able to play the full practice and full game the way that we want him to. So it's just I haven't been able to get those reps with him that I need and want throughout the week, and I'm finally starting to feel him where he can get through it and we can work at the level where I need to have the confidence going into Sunday. So, we're gonna have stuff for Hop and that are gonna be really important for this offense, and we're excited that he's back, and we're gonna keep incorporating him much more and more.
And playing quarterback, there's criticism that comes obviously when things don't go well. Do you find a way to just kind of shut all that out, things on social media or TV when those types of moments happen?
Yeah, I guess the thing I'm actually doing today, I get a new phone number. I don't know how my number got out there to the fans, but I gotten a lot of texts. So that'll be nice to shut that part of life behind me. And I haven't opened social in the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, I just think that's the healthiest way to go about it. And yeah, I don't want to or care to see any things that people say about me. And I'm just going to keep chugging along regardless of what they say. So, yeah, but it sucks that the world is the way that it is. And looking forward to having some privacy.
So what's your new number?
Okay, Will Levis at the podium right there, again saying that they've got confidence no matter what, and that they got to play with confidence no matter what. He says he knows that he can make the plays. He says that he hasn't talked to a sports psychologist. Said the biggest key is the offense sticking to the rules, and somehow, some way, the fans got his phone number. So make of that what you will. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Is Jordan Love going to play? We've got the latest from Adam Schefter. We'll do it next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106 for the game. Stillman and Company, 1025, 1063 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. So we just heard from Will Levis, and apparently the fans got Will Levis's phone number. That can't be good. That can't be good. But I was a little surprised when Levis was like, yeah, I don't think I need to talk to a sports psychologist right now, but maybe that's something I'll think about. Like, it's honest, but man, we're 2 weeks in. So the real question, though, that I want to know, I want Malik Willis to play on Sunday. I want to know, is Malik going to play? Jordan Love was at practice today. We do have Adam Schefter's latest. This just in on ESPN. This is Adam Schefter about Jordan Love's availability for Sunday.
Jordan Love.
Well, he's been back at practice today, Laura, for the first time since he hurt his knee in Brazil in that Friday night game against the Eagles. He was wearing a sleeve, a protective device over his knee, and it still is uncertain whether he'll be able to make it back in time for Sunday's game. But clearly he is making progress. Him being out there is a sign of progress. I continue to go back to what I've been told throughout this process, which is that it was a 3 to 4 week injury. And if that is indeed the case in the end, that would mean that it would put him on track to return next week against Minnesota or the week after against the Los Angeles Rams. But the Packers aren't giving up hope yet that somehow he can make it back this week, which would be an incredibly quick and impressive turnaround if he can get it done. He's out there. He's trying. We'll see if he can make it back on Sunday.
Okay. So Adam Schefter says that he's going to try to give it a go. I did notice, I don't know if you noticed this, Shefty basically didn't say anything more than what we already knew, which is that he was out there on the field. And then Shefty said, I'm going to go with what I heard, which was 3 weeks at the beginning of this. So just keep that in mind as far as Jordan Love's return. God, I'm at least hopeful that the win over the Colts convinces the Packers, like, hey, this gives us another week for Jordan. Because if you're 0-2, then maybe you try to rush him out there. And I just want Malik. I am going to be so disappointed if it's Jordan Love. So disappointed if it's Jordan Love and not Malik. All right, 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. I did some number crunching at the right tackle position. What I came up with. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 1025-1063 The Game.
After last week, the NPF gives up 13 pressures. Is it just on him to be better, or do you start having to game plan to help him out a little bit?
It's both. It's both. I can do a better job helping, and then he can do a better job executing. I think that they would all say the same thing. There's so many good rushers in this league, and there's good players, and there's no shame in that. There's no shame in getting help on either side. We did a little bit of it in the game. Probably should have done a little more of it, but yeah, there's a time and a place to help in the rush. There's a time and a place where we have to get 5 out in a pattern, and that's a part of it. And it's a kind of a give and take balance, but certainly not something that I'm not used to. I've had to help on both edges quite a bit over the years, and that's just a part of playing offensive football nowadays with these guys that play on the other side. So certainly has work cut out for him with Rashawn Gary as well. So it's a challenging front to play against this week.
Brian Callahan's like, trust me, I've had my work cut out for me in Cincinnati with those terrible offensive lines having to help at the tackle position. But that was the first question that Brian Callahan received today at the press conference, right out the chute, about, so you're going to have to help out Nicholas Petit-Frere, a.k.a.
PT.
You're going to have to help out PT some more. And he's like, I'm going to have to help him out more, and he's going to have to execute better, i.e., he's going to have to block. And somebody texted in earlier today in the show, and they said, why do you jump ship every time when it comes to the Titans? We are 2 games into the season. Keep it up, and you will look like the boy who cried wolf. And I'd actually like to contend, when it comes to this, you can call me a prophet, because I spent every day since January talking about right tackle every single day. Nicholas Petit-Frere, according to Pro Football Focus so far this year, has an overall grade of 53. Terrible. He's given up 2 sacks, 1 hit, 8 hurries, and 11 pressures. And I'll go with Pro Football Focus, which I believe gave him credit for 8 pressures on Sunday, which Blake Bedingfield credited him for 9, and Next Gen Stats gave him 13. So I think I'm being nice here, Ian, when I'm going with the Pro Football Focus numbers, which through 2 games have PT at 11 pressures as opposed to the 13 that the NFL's Next Gen Stats want to give him.
Okay, fair.
So you can call me the boy who cried wolf. You can call me whatever you want. It ain't going to make me feel any worse. But again, let's get back to the actual issue. And the actual issue when it comes to the right tackle position is that the Titans don't have one. And I told Brian Callahan the day after he got hired that the old man in 2015, when I asked him if the Titans were going to be any good that season, he looked me right in my eye and said, we don't have a right tackle. It's pretty important, huh? Right tackle. And he looked at me and he said, right tackle. And you know that. And while I've told that story 1,000 times, and people are going to say, we don't need to hear the right tackle story anymore, Jared, let me say this. Yes, you do, because you all spent the entire offseason telling me the Titans were going to be okay at right tackle. And I was right, and you were wrong, and they were wrong. And when Corey, before the Saints game, had one of his sideline reports on the preseason broadcast and said that the right side of the line isn't just something they feel okay about, it's something they feel good about. Bob, back to you. I knew that was bull crap. And I love Corey to death, but even I'm like, Corey, come on now. And he's like, well, that's what they're saying. I'm just reporting what's being, and I get it. But now I think we can say, Jared, you were right. And I went even further in on the Pro Football Focus numbers and everything else. Nicholas Petit-Frere, a.k.a. PT, has a pass blocking efficiency of 91.1%, which means 1 out of every 10 snaps, PT is going to allow the other team to either hurry the quarterback, hit the quarterback, or sack the quarterback. That's not very good. 1 out of every 10 snaps. How many plays do you plan to run on a drive That means that if you run 10 plays over 2 drives, you go 3 and out, and you pick up 1 first down, at some point, PT is going to let the quarterback get hit. So then the question becomes, well, what could they have done, Jared? Because this happened last year when I barbecued them over Andre Dillard. And everybody kept saying, well, who did you like who was any better, Jared? Well, now I remember who I liked at the time, who we talked about at the time, and there was not a lack of discussion on this program in February and March leading into free agency about right tackle. Now, was there?
Probably not.
No, there was not. In fact, I'm going to let you take a guess. We don't even have a grid today, so you haven't even seen this. Who would you think is the number one person I look to see how they were doing if somebody were to ask me, who could have been better than PT at right tackle, Jared?
Jermaine Illuminor.
I'm glad you brought him up. Jermaine Illuminor. Again, PT is at 91% in terms of his efficiency. Illuminor is at 97%. Jermaine Illuminor, 0 sacks, 3 hits, 2 hurries, 5 pressures. So 0 sacks and 5 pressures over 2 games for Illuminor, 2 sacks and 11 pressures over 2 games for PT. So I'd say it's $7 million a year, which is what the Giants are paying Jermaine Illuminor. You could have had a better option at right tackle. How about Morgan Moses? Did you guys notice him on Sunday? He was the other right tackle in the game. Morgan Moses was acquired by the Jets in exchange for a 4th-round pick swap. So if you had swapped spots, and you had a better pick than the Jets did in the 4th round of this year's draft, if you had swapped spots with the Jets and you had given the Jets pick 106, which ended up being Cedric Gray, who I don't even know, Ian, if that guy exists.
Haven't seen him much.
I went to training camp and I didn't see him out there. So again, swap spots in the 4th for Morgan Moses. Morgan Moses has a pass blocking efficiency rate of 97.7%. Again, better than PT's 91%. So 98% of the time, Morgan Moses holds up his end of the bargain. By the way, it was 100% on Sunday against the Titans, meaning Morgan Moses did not allow 1 pressure or 1 hit or 1 sack. Morgan Moses, no sacks, 1 hit, 2 hurries, 3 pressures. PT, 11 pressures and 2 sacks. Morgan Moses, 0 sacks, 3 pressures. Now, George Fant and Jonah Williams have been hurt, so that actually would put you out there with PT. That is what it is. Trent Brown, who, again, I didn't want any part of Trent Brown because he's like 400 pounds, and efforts are a question with him. But again, effort and awareness are also the question with PT. But with Trent Brown, his efficiency is 96.1%. Again, PT is 91.1%. 1 sack, no hits, 4 hurries, 5 pressures. Literally everybody on this list has half, more than half, or I should say PT has more than half or more than double the amount of pressures allowed than any single one of these guys. These guys are not 1st-round draft choices. These are not guys that you have to take 3rd overall. Jermaine Illuminor is a $7 million guy. This is not Mike McGlinchey last year that cost about $16 million a season. By the way, remember when Brian Callahan took the job and he got up there and he said, Dylan Radunz is a guard, period. Dylan Radunz's last 2 games as the right tackle last year, and make of this what you will. Bill Callahan, he's the guru. I'm not. I'm nobody. But Dylan Radunz's last 2 games, since we have the first 2 games this year for PT, the last 2 games for Dylan Radunz of 2023 playing right tackle, 97% pass blocking efficiency, 91% for PT, 1 sack, no hits, 2 hurries, and 3 pressures. Again, less sacks, less hits, less hurries, and PT had 11 pressures allowed over 2 games. Radunz in his last 2 games last year, 3 pressures allowed. So at what point do we sit back and say right tackle's a problem? And at what point will people just admit that if you don't have a right tackle, you can't win. And by the way, it was Will McDonald who was going up against PT for a lot of the game. Jermaine Johnson was going up against him for a lot until he got hurt. And again, that 3rd down and goal from the 8 where Levis gets hit and it's a sack, and all of a sudden now it's further to go get the touchdown. That does change things. You cannot win with this at right tackle. And I don't care how much you try to bend the right tackle story. I'm the only one who heard it. So you can say what he meant or what he didn't mean, however you want. I heard it. I know what he meant. And what he meant was, if you don't have a right tackle, you stink. And you don't have a right tackle. Again, 11 pressures over 2 games. 91% efficiency in pass blocking. You can't survive with that in the NFL. And so I don't know how long the Titans are going to go with this. And honestly, I don't even know if fans care about it or not. I know fans care about winning and losing. I know fans care about the roster. I know fans, but I just feel like right tackle is such an overlooked position. I have tried to beat this into the brains of every single person about how important this position is, because for the last 2 years, you haven't had one. And it's been, oh no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I don't even remember who was the starting right tackle last year, the first game. Chris Hubbard. Forget about him. By the way, he's still a free agent. But they can do whatever they want. But again, this 91% efficiency, Illuminor, 97, Morgan Moses, 98, Trent Brown, 96. These guys aren't superstars, but they're better than what you've got. Even Kingsley Suamataye, who got benched on Sunday.
They kept pulling him, yeah.
He got benched on Sunday. He is a raw rookie out of BYU. And we talked about him some as a potential 2nd-round pick. And it was like, yeah, if you draft Suamataye, it's going to take some time. Suamataye has an efficiency of 94%. Tyler Guyton in Dallas, who gave up 2 sacks so far this season, just like PT, has an efficiency of 95%. Dalise Fuaga, have you seen this? Through 2 games, you know the Saints have been lighting it up. Fuaga through 2 games, 0 sacks, 0 hits, 0 hurries, 0 pressures. 100% efficiency. When are we going to say, okay, time to fix the problem? Time to do something about it. And by the way, September 18th isn't the time to do something about this. It's April and May and March and February when I was yelling and screaming about right tackle. Everybody said, no, Jared. Bill Callahan will fix it. 2 sacks, 1 hit, 8 hurries, 11 pressures. Yeah. Bill's really doing it with PT. 615-737-1025. That's our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll go to your phones. Plus, there's something PT did that in almost any other circumstance, I wouldn't even notice it. But in this exact circumstance, it's kind of embarrassing. And it should tell the Titans where his head's at. We'll do it next. Stillman and Company, 615-737-1025. And of course, we will, as I promised, get to your phones, 615-737-1025. Hey, this week's best deal is Daddy Dogs, Nashville's biggest and best gourmet hot dogs. Whether you're taking your office lunch to the next level or saving your life on the late night streets of Broadway, which I will not be doing, but that's you. You can't go bigger or better than Daddy's Dogs. Go to thegamenashville.com/deals and get a $25 gift card for half price while supplies last.
NPF had a fantasy sponsorship deal announced this week. It's not, huh?
A what?
He's aligned with some fantasy.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. It's not gambling, but it's, in that genre, if you will. He's been suspended under the gambling policy before.
Yeah.
And it comes out the week after he's got I'm just wondering if you have any feeling for the timing of that or any concern?
No, I mean, usually I try to stay out of guys off the field businesses as long as it doesn't affect our team. But yeah, he's grown up and he's free to, as long as it's not a violation of the NFL rules, he's free to enter into whatever business agreements he wants to. And that's his prerogative. I don't have any personal opinion about it. Guys have lots of other things that they do. And yeah, I'm sure the timing had nothing to do. I mean, I'm sure he didn't agree to it this week. So those are probably things that have been in the works for a while. Just the timing maybe feels weird, but I'm sure it's something that has been in negotiations or discussions for a while. So I have no real opinion about it.
There you go. Great answer from Brian Callahan earlier today. And it's a great answer because what's Brian Callahan going to say? On Tuesdays, the players have off. Just like, again, how the guys at 102.5 The Game, and I know I just did a read talking about, if you're looking for the hot dogs on the late night streets of Broadway, but like, if I were to stay out to the bars till 4 o'clock in the morning, which I did used to do, and then COVID happened, and then I got a girlfriend during COVID, and, everything just kind of continued on that path, and now you will not see me at a bar at 4 o'clock in the morning. But I did used to go out to the bars until about 4 o'clock in the morning. In fact, the weekend before COVID happened, I was out at the bar until about 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, or whenever they close. I can't even remember. But the reason I say this is because, they can't really say anything about it. Like, they can't say, Jared, don't go to the bar at 4 o'clock in the morning the night before a pregame show. But if I'm yakking off the side of the stage, we're going to have problems. And they're probably not going to look very kindly on it if I'm out on Broadway at 4 o'clock in the morning, taking my T-shirt off and spinning it around in the air like a helicopter, like a Petey Pablo song. They're probably not going to like that. And I got to say, either the lack of self-awareness from Nicholas Petit-Frere, a.k.a.
PT,
the lack of self-awareness from PT, or the lack of giving a rat's ass is just embarrassing. So he's now a fantasy football expert for some fantasy football arm of a gambling company. A year after he was suspended for, that's right, gambling. PT, who do you think we should take on FanDuel here right now? What do you, what's your parlay there, PT? What you think? Or is it, no, which defense should they go against? PT could probably tell you, this week I would pick the Packers defense. That's the one I'd go with this week. And not only is it totally out of school to do it with the gambling company right after you've been suspended for gambling, but also to do it right after you had the worst game, according to Next Gen Stats, of any offensive tackle since 2018. In 2018, Marcus Mariota was still the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. In 2018, the Washington Commanders were still called the Redskins. In 2018, Adrian Peterson was still running the football consistently for a team in the NFL. In 2018, Tom Brady was still on the Patriots. In fact, they won the Super Bowl that year. That's how long ago it was that PT's had the worst game. And so right after he has the worst game, all of a sudden it's like, hey guys, on Tuesday, I'll be doing fantasy football in my side gig. Maybe you should get your ass in the film room and study up so that this week against Gary and the Packers, it's not as bad as it was last week against Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald. And by the way, let me just say this. Imagine if they had Hassan Reddick out there. So either PT doesn't care or he doesn't realize how bad of a look that is. It's a bad look, especially for a guy who blocks the guy in front of him 91% of the time. Embarrassing. 615-737-1025. And there's nothing Brian Callahan can say other than, guys got all kinds of stuff they're doing, and I can't get in the way of it. This isn't 1985 where they can do things, don't do, we'll take away your annuities. And no. Guys have podcasts, and there's a union, and whatever. But he can't criticize it. I can, and I will. One texter says, so are we going to have to listen to you all year long talk about right tackle? Let's talk about something else. Well, again, here's my thing, texter, and I understand that you don't want to hear about what's bad with the football team. I get it. But you're 0-2. And a large part of the reason why you're 0-2, not the biggest reason you're 0-2, your quarterback is the biggest reason you're 0-2, your punt block unit or your punt kick unit, whatever it is, your punting unit is a reason you're 0-2. If you've got a right tackle who's allowing 11 pressures every 2 games, you're not going to win the NFL. Like, you are not going to win, period. So if you want to talk about winning and losing, or you want to talk about beating the Packers, you better figure out what you're going to do on the offensive line. And the Titans completely ignored right tackle, and I think it's because Brian Callahan doesn't take it as seriously as Floyd does. But I hate to say it, that's a problem. One texter says, I've been screaming offensive line the last 3 years, and everybody else wants receivers. If you can't block, it doesn't help you how many receivers you have. Call the Chicago Bears. Have you seen the amount of people that have been ripping the Chicago Bears for the fact that they don't have a very good offensive line? And remember, when we were talking draft, I kept looking at the Bears, and I kept saying, why are they going to draft Roma Dunze? And I like Roma Dunze. But I kept saying, why are they going to draft Roma Dunze? They don't have a left tackle. Well, Braxton Jones played there last year, and he was okay. Okay. We're going to have a rookie quarterback, and we're going to give him a left tackle that's okay. Yeah, good luck. By the way, do you know who C.J. Stroud's left tackle is? Bryce Young's left tackle, or was before he got benched, was Ike Ekwonu, who's terrible. Will Levis's left tackle has been a mixture of Andre Dillard, Jalen Duncan, and J.C. Latham, who has been pretty bad this year. Latham has allowed 1 sack, 2 hits, 2 hurries, and 5 pressures, 95% efficient. Not that bad, but also not that good. I don't even know who Anthony Richardson's left tackle is. I'm sure he's terrible. C.J. Stroud's left tackle is Laramie Tunsil. That's not an accident. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Here on the program, we'll get back to your phones. Here on the show, 615-737-1025. I do want to talk about FanDuel Sportsbook. I'm like an expert. That's right. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. The players should not be on it, but you can be. NFL Week 3 is coming, and you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're new to FanDuel, you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. And there are tons of great same-game parlays that you can build for Thursday night football between the Jets and the Patriots. Granted, I don't know much about the Patriots, haven't watched them play this year, but I do know a lot about the Jets. Just visit FanDuel.com/JGM to make every moment more this season with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and over and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $5 first deposit required. Bonus issue is non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Does that mean that you and your dad and Will need to grin and bear it and be patient?
There's an element of that. There's an element of patience. There's an element of we got to get better fast. There's some urgency to get better. And I think that's the most important point is that the urgency to improve quickly is what makes teams in the NFL. If you can get better quickly, you can make improvements, make corrections, and not repeat mistakes. You're going to have a pretty good chance to improve at a rate that's going to give you a competitive advantage. But we need to improve. Certainly, there's a patience part, but there's also an urgency part where things got to get better quickly.
That was Brian Callahan talking about the offensive line, saying they got to hurry up and get better. And I do think Bill Callahan is going to get these guys like J.C. Latham. I'm not worried about J.C. Latham. I'm not. Skoronski, I am worried about. It was funny because Titans Twitter has decided that Peter Skoronski's good now. He was bad after the first week, but now he's good because everybody came out and said he played better in week 2. We had Trevor on the show yesterday, and Trevor said that he was awful in week 1 and he was less awful in week 2. That does not inspire confidence from me. But the big one that we got to circle is PT, who once again is truly anchoring the line downward. And you know what I think PT is this year, Ian?
What's that?
I think he is this year's Aaron Brewer, where I knew Aaron Brewer could not be the center for your football team. I knew he couldn't be the left guard the year before. He's just too small. If you go to the game and you see him, he's not big enough. Well, but Vrabel said he was tougher than a $2 steak. Okay, Vrabel can say that. That's great, but it doesn't change the fact that he weighs 270 pounds. Doesn't change the fact that, as James Lofton once said when he gave up a sack, as much as he loves his effort, he's too short to play guard in the NFL. He's too small to play guard in the NFL. And everybody kept making excuses, and everybody kept telling me, no, Jared, you don't understand. Brewer's good. And I kept saying, no, he's not. And then all of a sudden, by the end of the year, everybody was like, yeah, probably better off letting Brewer go somewhere else. Brewer went somewhere else, and everyone's like, the Dolphins. And I'm like, you weren't ha-ha-ing when you were trying to convince me Brewer could be your center. PT's the same. PT was not good as a rookie. Gave him the benefit of the doubt going into year 2. He gets busted for the gambling suspension. He comes back for 3 games. He's horrible in the 3 games. And then he comes back the next year, and everyone's like, well, but he can do it. He played at Ohio State. He was a 3rd-round pick. Bill Callahan will fix it. And I'm like, okay, you guys keep telling yourself that. And then he comes out, he plays terrible, and he'll be gone next year. And then next year, we'll be sitting here crapping on PT when they have a new right tackle. That is my called shot as to what's going to happen. He's the Aaron Brewer of this year. In the interim, you're going to lose because he's on your team. Kenny the mailman is up next here on our program. Kenny, go ahead.
Jared, it's good to talk to you. When I call, if you notice, I never rant and rave. I don't call people names. Hopefully I can say something somebody can take away from. But talking about NPF, if he would have to improve 100% just to be below average, and he is so unaware of his status, his career is in jeopardy. I mean, this is no lie. You cannot play this way and they keep giving you years and years. He's been here enough where his career is in jeopardy, and he's throwing it away for maybe $70,000, $80,000 for a little gimmick job. It's like, is there not anyone in his life that can take him aside and say, concentrate on what's important? You're looking at these shiny things in the background, and you're missing your career. Hopefully there's someone in his life. My wife, if I wore a lime green shirt and a purple cowboy hat, she'd say, that's not good for you. I think he needs someone in his life to say, this fantasy stuff is not good for you.
See, my
Y'all
thing,
have a good day.
and Kenny, I totally understand what you're saying. And to me, there is really no defending, unless you're just somebody who says, it's none of your business what the players do, unless you're that. And I hate to say it, but I think it is kind of our business. This is the downside of being a pro football player and making a lot of money, is that people give a damn about what you do. It was funny. There was a player on a team in town who had kind of a reputation for partying too much. And I was talking to somebody, and I was like, how much has he been out drinking and partying at the bars? And somebody said, that's none of your business. I'm like, actually, it is. That is my business. Literally my business. By the way, the answer was a lot. And no, he's no longer here. But again, like with PT, I don't even look at it as much with this fantasy football thing as if it's why he gave up all those pressures on Sunday. But it shows me how bright he isn't, which makes me think that he has no chance of changing. He has no chance of getting better. Zero. Because his head's not in the right place. And to Kenny's point, maybe there's someone that can take him along and say, you ever thought about how that looks? But I don't even care about that. I meant to bring this up and I forgot. Saquon Barkley. I don't know if you guys saw this. Saquon dropped the pass that cost the Eagles the game on Monday night. On Tuesday, Saquon was supposed to go on behalf of some product that he's pumping. I don't even know who the product was, but he was supposed to go on the Dan Patrick Show, which, by the way, I believe airs, Ian, on Sports Talk 830.
That is correct.
So he was supposed to go on the Dan Patrick Show. And the marketing agency reached out to the Dan Patrick Show and they said because they lost the game and Saquon doesn't want people to think, oh, Saquon drops the pass and here he is shilling out for, I don't know, whoever. Saquon didn't want that. Saquon Barkley picked up the phone and called Dan Patrick himself and explained, hey, I'll make it up to you, but I'm not coming on the show on Tuesday just because of what happened on Monday. And I don't want my team and I don't want the fans and I don't want people to think that my head's not in the right place. And I don't know about you guys, but that tells me a lot about Saquon Barkley. When I heard that from Dan Patrick, because Dan Patrick went on air and he told that story today. And when I heard that, I said to myself, boy, I tell you, the Giants made a mistake, but not PT. PT's got to go in there and get his fantasy football fix in there. One texter says, Jared, I'm starting to realize that the people that text or call into the show and complain about your takes are mostly Homer crybaby Tennessee fans. They hate that you or anyone else sees the garbage that the team is putting on the field, and it's not your fault that these experts are putting trash out there and expect us to pay hundreds of dollars to see it. Call them out, says a texter. I'll just say it like this. We all have different opinions. Sometimes my opinion is right. Sometimes my opinion is wrong. Most of the time, my opinion is right. And I'm not worried about being buddies with anybody or, I try to be nice, like in real life, like the coaches and players and executives and things like that. Like, I'm not going to walk up to somebody and say, hey, you suck. But if somebody were to come up to me and say, hey, you said that I suck, then we'd have the conversation and I wouldn't be afraid of it. But again, the enjoyment I get out of doing my job is the ability to just kind of tell it like it is. That's what I enjoy doing. And I might be wrong. I doubt it. But for the most part, like, it's like I told Brian Callahan the day he got the job. Told Barry Trotz, told Andrew Burnett, told them all. If I don't like something, I'm going to say it. Period. And I don't like right tackle. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025 here on the program. So there's something I brought up yesterday that I feel very strongly about. And it was laughed off today. And I just don't understand I just don't understand what matters anymore. We'll do that next. Stillman and Company, 1025, 106 The Game. Stillman and Company, 1025, 1063 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. So I've got a bone to pick. I've got a serious bone to pick. This isn't a Will Levis topic. This isn't really, it is a Titans topic. This is not an ownership topic, even though it's going to talk a lot about ownership. It's not a Rand Carthon topic, even though it's probably going to talk about him. And it's not a John Robinson topic. But it is my anger with kind of the pushback from something we talked about yesterday, and really just kind of the mindset of what I think is the fans. And I don't know if this is the mindset of most Titans fans out there, or if this is the mindset of a select group of Titans fans that we hear from the most. But it's starting to drive me crazy. So yesterday on the program, I talked about how Carolina has decided to bench Bryce Young. And I have no idea if Bryce Young is any good or not. Bryce Young's stats say he's terrible. Even the Pro Football Focus numbers. For instance, Will Levis, according to Pro Football Focus, has had 2 big-time throws this year. Bryce Young has had 0. Will Levis has had 21.9% pressure to sack. Bryce Young, 31.6. Will Levis has had 2 turnover-worthy plays. Bryce Young has had 3. Levis's overall grade is 46.9, and we know Levis has been terrible. Young's is 30.1. So that says that Bryce Young is horrible. But again, I can't tell you. I'm not there. I don't know. But we know that the issue in Carolina, as I said yesterday, is the owner. The same guy who runs through these quarterbacks time and time again. First it was Cam, then he got rid of him, which it was time. Then he brought in Bridgewater. Then after a year of Bridgewater, he got rid of him. Then after a year of Bridgewater and got rid of him, he brought in Sam Darnold. Then he got rid of him. Then he brought in Baker Mayfield, and he brought in P.J. Walker, and then he got rid of them and went back to Sam Darnold. Then he got rid of all of them. Then he went out and sold the farm in order to get Bryce Young. Now he's getting rid of them. And the answer is Andy Dalton. I've said this time and time again. I've never been married before, and I know a lot of people that have been divorced. It's not the end of the world, and it doesn't mean you're a bad person. But at some point, if you get divorced about 4 times, don't you need to look in the mirror? And I don't know why you got divorced 4 times, but again, if you've gotten divorced 4 times, I just think you probably need to look in the mirror. Which takes me back to the Titans. Again, I thought Amy Adams-Strunk was an excellent owner. I thought the organization was in great hands. And they did a lot of winning. 9 games, 9 games, 9 games, 9 games in an AFC title game appearance, a division title and a number 1 seed, and they were 7-5 in first place on the day they decided to fire John Robinson. He won 61% of his games. By the way, that's the same number Bill Walsh won, 61% with the San Francisco 49ers. And I say that over and over and over again, and every time I say that, some Titan fan just goes, J-Rob's draft sucked. You defend J-Rob, and he traded away A.J. Brown. You love J-Rob, and you don't. And that's not the truth. I got up in his Kool-Aid over the Isaiah Wilson pick saying, how did you guys not know? I asked him repeatedly before the 2022 draft, what did you do in 2019 that didn't work in 2020 and 2021? And is there a difference you can go back to so that you can have a draft like the 2019 draft? Look, I like John Robinson, and I hope John Robinson likes me. It would not surprise me if he's got a hair across his ass about me. Would not surprise me. But again, he won 61% of his games. And every time I say that, people are like, but he did this, and he did that, and he this, and that, and that. But there's never an argument against the 61% of the game. That's just a fact. And since John Robinson got fired, which to me is the moment that Amy Adams-Strunk went as YOLO as Will Levis did on 3rd and 6 against the Chicago Bears and hauled off and fired her general manager in the middle of the season, something that we almost never, ever, ever, ever see. In fact, the day before, I told Caroline the Monday after the Titans got beat by AJ and the Eagles, and I said, you do realize in other organizations, less stable organizations, someone's getting fired over that? And the next day, she fired the GM. Since that's happened, you've won 25% of your games. Again, J-Rob as GM, 61% of his games, 4 playoff appearances and 6 tries, 2 division titles, and was in first place the day he got fired in an AFC title game. All of that is fact. None of that is my opinion. That is reality. Since he's been fired, you've won 25% of your games. Since David Tepper bought the Panthers, they've won 28% of their games. Ian, has there been a single ounce of my subjectivity when reporting those numbers?
I guess not.
It's all objective. It's all winning and losing. And that's what this is all about, right? And this is the rant I'm going on. This morning, I brought it up when they were sitting there talking about how dumb Carolina is and how great everything here is. And here's what Paul Kaharski said.
By the way, speaking of Stilly real fast, he just texted me. He said, don't say this isn't a dumb franchise. They've won 25% of their games since they fired J-Rob. And by the way, I will add to that, Stilly. They've actually,
J-Rob. He loves.
They lost 20 of 26 overall, so because they lost the last 2 before J-Rob.
It's funny. He thinks
I'm not saying the Titans haven't done dumb things, but we are comparing them to the Panthers, right? Like we can compare the Titans franchise favorably to the Carolina franchise. Can we not?
It's funny that he thinks the losses that they suffered in the season after J-Rob was fired aren't J-Rob losses. Yeah. Those losses go to Ryan Cowden, who was in the interim, because J-Rob was fired when they lost all those games because of J-Rob's moves. But he's absolved of them.
Okay. And a lot of people have that same opinion. I texted Paul and I said, again, I'm using the day that she fired him as, to me, the line of demarcation, the moment in the sand when, oh my God, here we go. And since then, regardless of why, you've won 25% of your games. By the way, I still believe this. You lost that next week to the Jaguars because you fired the general manager in the middle of the week. You would have beaten Jacksonville. You lost 2 in a row to Cincinnati and Philadelphia. You would have locked in all week on Jacksonville. There would have been no distractions, and you would have beaten them at home, and you would have won the division. But again, that's subjective. The actual percentages and the winning and the losing and all of that, that is objective. Well, John Robinson's drafts are the reason this team stinks. So Rand Carthon's losses are actually John Robinson's fault. And I'm sure there are some people that believe that. And that might be true. But then why does John Robinson not get credit for the winning that he did his first year when inheriting the worst team in the league with the number 1 pick? The previous administration whiffed on Bishop Sankey. He traded for DeMarco Murray. The previous administration whiffed on Chance Warmack. He claimed Josh Klein. So how come they were able to do those things and win? Does Rustin Webster get credit for those wins, or does he get credit for them? The whole point I'm trying to make here is, it feels to me like Titan fans and Kaharski too and everybody else, everybody's making excuses for the numbers because the numbers don't paint a pretty picture. Everybody wants to talk about vibes, the feeling in the building. Remember Harold Landry got up at the podium before the Chicago game and said, it's just guys can prepare for the game their individual way. Have you watched the 2 games? They're a lot like the games last year. So I don't understand. Again, everybody likes to take this, the Titans lose, and everybody likes to put the blame on somebody or a group of people or whatever, a circumstance that's not here. And I understand the point of context. But again, I just want us to live in reality. And the number one thing that is real and cannot be disputed in football is winning and losing. And so I keep hearing people that are excited about the vibes and the positivity and the belief and the Rand cooking and the this and the that. And all I can say is right now, you're Carolina. For the last 2 years, you've been Carolina. You've won 25% of your games. That's awful. But instead, it's the vibes and it's this guy's going to coach him better and this guy's going to do this better and that guy's going to. And you're getting the same results. And I think it's because both they and a lot of you just don't seem to understand that numbers actually matter more than your feelings. And I just can't get over this whole idea that winning and losing doesn't matter. It's how you feel about the person that's doing the winning or the losing. Robinson wins, but you don't like it. He sucked. Since Robinson's been gone, they've lost. They're still great. Somebody help me figure this out. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025 here on Stillman and Company. And I will say this. I do think if one thing happens on Sunday, it's binary about how people are going to feel. We'll hit that next. Stillman and Company, 1025, 1063, The Game. Speaking of college football, tune into 93.3 Totally Hits Nashville this Saturday for MTSU as they're on the road at home at Floyd Stadium against Duke. Pregame is at 1:30. Kickoff is at 3. And tune into our college football game of the week, Saturday at 7 o'clock, presented by Twin Peaks, Baylor, and Colorado. Take your tailgate to Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports.
Do you prepare? You think Malik's going to be the starter on Sunday? Do you prepare for that?
To me, it doesn't matter. We have to prepare to go play the Packers offense, whether it's with Malik or with Jordan Love. Schematically, it varies a little bit, but at the end of the day, we have to do our jobs well. We have to execute, be fundamentally sound, if you spend too much time worrying about that part of it, you lose track of what we need to be for our identity and our defense. Certainly, watch plenty of tape on Malik. Be ready for Jordan Love if he somehow ends up playing. We'll be ready for it, but you never just assume in this, that all of a sudden the guy's going to be out or not until you're told he's out. So we'll be ready for both players. Got plenty of film on Jordan from last year and from the first game, and you got film on Malik, and we practiced against Malik, so we know Malik well too. But again, it's only going to be about how we execute, and I think that's the most important part, is not to get too enamored with who's behind center, but more about how we do our jobs.
Jordan Love practiced today. Adam Schefter earlier today on ESPN saying, I'm going to stick with the initial timetable that I heard, which was 3 weeks, which means Schefty thinks he's not going to play this week. I'm just going to say right now, if I get a vote, Malik plays. I think most Titans fans would have that same approach. Let me say this, though. If I'm Brian Callahan and I'm Rand Carthon and I'm inside that building, Chad Brinker, I'm one of the people responsible for this team winning football games, I think there's a chance I'd rather see the other guy. I think there's a chance I'd rather see Jordan Love. And I'm going to tell you why. Because Titan fans have made a lot of excuses about why this team's not very good. I mean, other than Levis, like the fans have made it known that they're not very happy with the quarterback, and they shouldn't be happy with the quarterback. And I'm not happy with the quarterback. But I think we're going to keep moving the goalposts when it comes to the Titans. Remember, this offseason, the vibes were immaculate in the building, only to have people that, again, should know better telling everybody after it's over and they're 0-2, maybe the problem was our expectations for this team were too high. They can get away with the vibes excuse if they lose on Sunday to Jordan Love. They can't get away with the vibes excuse, whether it's trying to excuse it to Amy or trying to excuse it to the fans. They can't get away with that if they lose to Malik on Sunday. And so, while again, we don't care who we play, we're going to try to go out there and beat them no matter what. And I'm just going to say, I think I'm picking the Titans no matter who the quarterback is on Sunday, because I just don't think this team's going to go to 0-3. I think this team's bad, but I don't think they're that bad. And 0-3 to start a season is pretty terrible. That's this may be the third pick kind of team. And I don't think they're going to be that, even though I think they're going to win 6 or 7 games. But again, if you do that to Jordan Love, you can make an excuse. If you do it to Malik, there is no excusing it. And so if I'm a Titan coach, I might rather go up against Jordan Love than go up against Malik. Now, if I'm simply just concerned about winning the game and I'm not worried about making excuses, which is what most coaches and general managers should be, but again, around here, narrative is everything, then I'd much rather play Malik because he's terrible. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I've noticed in the text line, the J-Rob Sucks crew has all of a sudden disappeared once I start saying, give me an argument that is not subjective or vibe related to, well, you've won 25% of your games since you fired him. Maybe it wasn't the best decision to do it the way you did it. Since that challenge has gone out there, we've gotten nothing from the J-Rob Sucks crew, which I'm shocked by. I'm sure we'll get enough from the J-Rob Sucks crew as things go along. Jordan says, I would be disappointed if it's Jordan Love on Sunday. My thought, regardless, though, is that he won't play. In the eyes of the league and hopefully the Packers, the Colts are bad and the Titans are worse than the Colts. If Malik can do it once, then he can do it again against lesser competition that he has prior knowledge of. More importantly, the Packers don't want to be the 2023 Bengals who rushed Joe Burrow out too quickly and basically tanked their season in the process. Being healthy and winning a divisional game next week is more important than beating a random AFC team this early in the season. Love on the field today is purely for practice and recovery, not for preparation. Let me say this. I agree. I agree that I believe Malik's going to play on Sunday, and I think the Titans are going to win. And here's why I think Malik is probably going to play. Because I think the Packers want it in their back pocket that if Jordan Love had to play, if this was one of those games where Jordan Love had to play, if this was the divisional round of the playoffs, he'd play. But it's not. It's week 3, and it's the Titans. And I almost wonder, they said Jordan Love was close to being able to go last week. I almost wonder if they thought to themselves, you know what? Let's play Malik. We're at home. It's Green Bay. And so what we'll do is we've got good home field advantage. We're playing Indy. Let's put Malik out there and see what happens. And if we lose to Indy, it's not the end of the world. And then we can try to get Jordan Love ready for Tennessee. So we're playing Malik for 2 games. We want to split them 1-1. Well, if that's the mindset, which I think it probably was, well, you've already split them at 1-1. You can't do worse than that. So let's push it back another week. And that way Jordan Love doesn't re-injure the knee. And Jordan Love can go out there and play against Minnesota, who might be pretty good. And that way, we're really putting ourselves in position to succeed. I mean, I think right now the Packers are wondering, can we go against Tennessee and run, punt our way to victory? Because Tennessee right now has terrible special teams, and the quarterback is a mistake waiting to happen. And if I was Green Bay, my answer would be yes. And if I lose with Malik, it's not the end of the world because Malik already did his job by winning one of the 2 games. And then we turn around next week and we go to the next guy. One texter says, the quarterbacks in this division stink compared to all the preseason talk. For once, they weren't calling us the trash division, and that's exactly what the AFC South is. I haven't watched Trevor Lawrence so far, so I can't tell you. I watched Anthony Richardson against Green Bay, and I would argue that Levis is significantly worse than Anthony Richardson. In fact, I really don't think it's close after watching the 2. And I think Indy got a wake-up call on Sunday because the coaching, the game plan on offense and defense was both atrocious for Indy. 12 carries for Jonathan Taylor, and Jonathan Taylor had like 120 yards or 110 yards or something. And then I believe it was they allowed Green Bay to run it 53 times. Like at some point, bring guys down the bottom. Even Belichick critiqued their coaching. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025 here on our program if you guys want to weigh in here on the show. So there was a big story. Out of Knoxville yesterday about the University of Tennessee charging the fans 10% to pay the players. What do we make of that? We'll get to it next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
we're excited about NIL and excited about this new era of rev share. I think it's great that student athletes are now starting to get resource that I think that they've deserved, and it's a great time for college sports as we march forward. I think that Tennessee is really well positioned in that space. We've been a leader in NIL. We're trying to lead in a lot of ways in college athletics. And as we talk about how we communicate with our fan base from the very beginning, once I got here, we've talked about being transparent, communicate early and often with them. And so we knew that as we look at roster limits and scholarship limits going away, and certainly the new $22 million revenue share coming into the athletics department, we knew we need their help. And so how do we communicate that and make sure that we're generating as much revenue as we can off of our stadium, off of our arena? And at some point, there was a light bulb moment where somebody in our creative team just said, you know what, let's just be transparent with them and call it what it is. It's a talent fee, and it's going directly to the talent. It's going to our student athletes as part of this new world order in college sports. So I know our fans will embrace it. They've supported us every step along the way, and I expect this same will happen here.
Danny White, Tennessee's athletic director, on the announcement that UT is implementing a 10% tax on tickets for Vol football that is going to be called a talent tax. And the 10% extra that you will pay, although I believe it's 10% of every ticket, and the tickets are going to go up a certain percentage?
Yes, I think that is correct. The tickets are going up a certain percentage, and this 10% will be on top of that.
Okay. So you are now paying the players if you root for the University of Tennessee. And I think there are a lot of people that saw that and said, this is the way college sports is trending. This is the way college football is going. Now that we can pay the players, now that the courts have basically ruled however they want to pay them, they can pay them, whether it's through a collective, whether it's a 10% tax, whether it's however you want to do it, we are now paying players. And that's why a lot of these coaches like Coach K and Roy Williams and Nick Saban and these guys are like, I'm out. And a lot of people think that this is just the beginning. And I'm here to tell you right now, maybe. But I think that this is a very unique situation to Tennessee. And I'm going to tell you why. First off, I'm just going to be blunt. I love my alma mater, Louisville. In fact, I'm thinking about probably not going to just because I got too much stuff going on. But I really want to go to the game at Louisville this week against Georgia Tech. And considering that my friend's the athletic director, I can go whenever I want. And I could go to the game on Saturday and drive back and all of that and root for the team and go team go. But if you ask me to start paying players, as much as I'm rooting for our success, I have no interest in paying players at my school at all. I love Louisville. I want Louisville to win. I celebrate the victories, and yes, I share the embarrassment when we do things like hire prostitutes for recruits in the basketball dorm. But I'm not paying the players. I make a certain amount of money, and I'm spending it on me. I'm not spending it on the players. But UT fans and their level of fandom and their desire to be good at football and everything else is probably much higher than my desire for Louisville to be good. And so what UT has done is they've added this 10% tax, and what they've done is they've just cut out the bull crap. They just said, you know what? They just said, let's just say what it is. It's a 10% ticket tax for the players. And they know that that is actually the most popular thing they could call it. What they're doing is, instead of saying, hey, let's figure out a way to pass on the change in cost and let's call it something it's not, and that way people won't be upset about it. Let's say it's paying the players, because the second we do that, the fans, this fan base, will say, yeah, I'm paying the players, yeah. Because here's the truth about University of Tennessee football. And I mean this with respect, but there is a little bit of, trying to think, crassness to this. It's a little bit disrespectful what I'm about to say. The University of Tennessee football fans, the fan base, they do whatever it takes to win. If that means hiring Mussolini to be the head coach, if he's got a good defense and he can recruit, they might do it. That's how much they do not care who the coach is, as long as he wins. Right now, they've got a coach who wins. They don't care that he didn't go to UT. They don't care that he isn't the best to look at, the most interesting in the press conferences. And he doesn't care about any of that. Does not care at all. They do not care. They just want to win. That's it. They don't care as long as you win. They don't care about spreading false rumors about another potential coaching candidate because they didn't think he would win. They don't care. Go get Jamal Lewis and Dante Stallworth and all these other guys. They don't care as long as they win. The University of Tennessee fan base might as well be Al Davis owning the Raiders. Just win, baby. That's all they care about. And the second you stop winning, they loved Jeremy Pruitt because Jeremy Pruitt was a country ball coach and he said "I'd" all the time and they liked it. And the second they realized he could not coach, they were get him out of here. We don't care what we have to do in order to get him out of here. Just get him out of here. And so they did. And so when it comes to UT, the lack of shame that the fan base has is perfect for a player ticket tax. Because if you go to them and say you have to pay more, but it gives us a better chance to win, they'll jump on board for it. We'll do anything, Jared, to win at football. Trust me, I know. Secondly, I also think the UT fan base is perfect for this because they want to be included. They want to feel like they're a part of the team. Again, I love Louisville. And I got a lot of friends who are in that athletic department. And I went out to San Diego for the bowl game this past year. And I was out there, and it was, we were supposed to go to the Orange Bowl, and then Florida State didn't make it in the playoff, and then they got bumped down. And so there weren't a lot of fans that were out there. I spent a lot of time with the people that I know that were not entry-level people when I was in college, but close to it. And now they're athletic directors and assistant ADs and associate ADs. And we had a great time out there. And we're talking through all the difference of whatever. But like my life does not depend on whether or not Louisville wins or loses. My happiness. I had a great time. We got smoked by Miller Moss and USC out in that bowl game out at the Padres Stadium. And I was not upset at all. Not one bit. And I would say that a lot of people in Louisville, they pay and they go to the games and they root for the team and they're happy when they win, but they don't want to be a part of it because they're not a part of it. I'm not a part of it. But Tennessee fans, they want to be a part of it. They want to feel included. They want to be on the team. And this is how you get them on the team. So I actually think the marketing of it's brilliant. And I don't think this is going to fly everywhere else. For instance, I don't think Vanderbilt can go to their fan base and say, all right, guys, we need you to pay 10% more so we can go get better players. I don't think those Meemaws and Peepaws that have had tickets for as long as they've had, I don't think they're interested in paying 10% extra to pay the players. Again, you can't go to me, and I'm a fan, but this is not my life depends on it. And I don't even know if you can go to some of these entitled fan bases like Florida or Texas, or I don't know if you can go to them and say, hey, we want the random schmo in section 313 to pay for these players. I think you have to go to the boosters in order to get them to pay for the players. I don't know if you can do that in these other places. LSU, you can do it. But LSU already pays the players more than anybody else. I don't think you can do this in the Big Ten. Because again, while the Big Ten is like the SEC, especially Tennessee, they'll do whatever it takes to win. Even Ohio State drew a line in the sand with Urban Meyer, where it was like, okay, this is your last year. Like, we've had enough. Tennessee, if something happened, if Josh Heupel got hit by a bus, Tennesse'd hire Urban Meyer tomorrow and not even be upset about it. So I think this is great for Tennessee. And I do think, again, the laws in Tennessee regarding NIL are very, very good. And I do think that right now, Tennessee has used the laws to their advantage. They've used NIL to their advantage. They've built a great team. They've got a great coach, and they're paying top dollar. They're paying top dollar at coach. They're paying top dollar for the renovations. They're paying top dollar for the renovations of baseball, the baseball coach. They're paying top dollar at quarterback right now, and they're seeing the results of it. So I think this is great. But I'm not exactly sure this is a trendsetter in college sports, because I'm not sure everywhere else, LSU, A&M, those places will do this, but I'm not sure this works everywhere else. I don't know if Kentucky basketball is interested in a 10% tax to go watch them lose to Oakland in the first round. But Tennessee fans have got a taste of victory, and they're so close. And it's not an accident. They waited to do this until before the Oklahoma game, because while I think Tennessee's going to win on Saturday, they might lose. They might lose to Oklahoma. They might lose to Georgia. They might lose to Alabama. I don't think they're going to lose on Sunday. But let's do it while everybody thinks that this is a national title team. And you can be a part of the team today. Just pay 10%. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, and a lot of people want to weigh in on this, so we'll do it. Stillman and Company, 1025-1063, the game.
Had a good morning with the guys. Came in great energy, focus. Able to look at the film and find some ways that we got to continue to grow into to be the best team that we can be. Great that we're getting an opportunity to kick off conference play. It's finally here. Big week in front of us. Big challenge. Have a ton of respect, obviously, for the program. Everybody that's involved over there, know a lot of them. But it's a football team that's playing really well. If you look at them defensively, doing a great job really in every category, applying pressure to the quarterback, sacks, turnovers, and being extremely good against the run. Offensively, got dynamic playmakers, young quarterback that's playing really good football, and they do a really good job on special teams. So huge test for us, opportunity for us to go on the road in a really good environment, and at the same time have an opportunity to put our brand in front of the entire country.
I love Josh Heupel. He just doesn't care. Like, he'll just get up there and he does his press conference and he just gets up there and is like, well, it's a big game right here. They're a really good team. I don't care who they're playing. Like, it could be Lafayette State Tech. Yeah, it's a really good team we're playing this week. They really do a lot of things to move the ball well. We really have to be disciplined in how we play. They're very good on special teams, and so we're really excited to get out to the practice field and get ready to go for Lafayette State Tech. And with that, I'll take your questions. Every time. Like, it's not like he, is like he stands up there and is like, oh, God, I have to do this. Like Vrabel did sometimes, but he doesn't care. Like, he just is like, all right, I'm going back to my office to go watch more tape and diagnose the game plan. And I like that. I respect that. I mean, this dude, and this is a game, by the way, they play Oklahoma this weekend. This is finally a college football game this year where I'm like, all right, put my tush in front of the TV and I don't have to tell myself why I should care. This one, I mean, we're going to see if Tennessee is a legitimate national title contender when they go on the road on Saturday. So that gets me excited. Again, last week, I mean, I watched the LSU South Carolina game, and I watched Kentucky and Georgia, and I watched Vandy blow it against Georgia State. Excuse me. I watched all of that, and that's great. But I don't really care. Like, it wasn't like I woke up on Saturday thinking, game. Today, next week, this week, Oklahoma, that's game right there. All right, so again, I think that this 10% tax is perfect for UT. This isn't going to be perfect everywhere else, but I think it's perfect for Tennessee because, A, I think the fans at Tennessee will do anything to be good at football, which is not the case everywhere, and B, they want to feel like they're a part of the team. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in on the show. Josh from White House says, I hate it. Fans and students should never be stuck with the bill for paying the players. I was against NIL, and one of the reasons was I knew sooner or later the fans and students would pay. That's Josh from White House. So what the state of Tennessee and the Tennessee football program has done is they've really cut through the BS. But ever since NIL started, you've been paying the players. Like, even if you don't know that you're paying the players, you're paying the players. And I'll explain to you how. So I asked an athletic director one time, I said, everybody keeps talking about how Florida State says they can't compete in the ACC and Clemson says they can't compete in the ACC and they need more money because of that TV contract they negotiated with ESPN and they're not going to get more money. And I'm like, but at the same time, Vandy is in the SEC. And so if the SEC through the TV contracts get a gajillion dollars a year and the ACC gets 10 million a year, you can't tell me that Rutgers in the Big Ten and Vandy in the SEC are going to be better than Clemson and Florida State traditionally. Florida State sucks this year, but traditionally that they're going to be better than those two schools. And the AD told me, he said, well, so here's how this is going to work. And this was before the courts basically said, nah, you can pay the players if you want. But what he said was the school takes the money from the revenue that they traditionally get. TV, fans, donations, etc. And what they do is they turn to their boosters. And instead of saying to the booster, we need to renovate the baseball stadium, or instead of saying to the booster, we need an extra $1 million for coach, we just take it out of that. And that same booster that was donating the money or was donating for the barber shop in the locker room now gives his money to the collective, and the collective buys the player. And I was like, So even if you were going to games, you were still in theory paying for the players, because what they were doing is they were taking the money that you were spending on the ticket and they were using that on their own things. And then the other stuff that they would usually ask a booster to donate 5 years ago, they're now saying, give it to Johnny and give it to Jimmy. It's just, it's accounting. It's moving money from over here to over there. It's all semantics. But I do understand the NIL thing. I mean, I'm fine with NIL. I'm fine with paying the players. I have said this for years when it came to paying the players. As long as you don't change my experience from sitting my fat butt on the couch on Saturdays, then you will not hear a complaint out of me. And the only complaining that I've done is I think that we've kind of ruined college football. And really ruined the Pac-12 and the Big 12 and the ACC and the Power 5 and all of that. That's what I don't like. This Tennessee-Oklahoma game, this is a great game. But I don't like that it's an SEC game. I don't like Oklahoma and Texas in the SEC. I don't like the SEC not on CBS. Those are my gripes. But I'm not sure exactly how much that has to do for paying the players one way or another. One texter says, this is the most ridiculous thing you've ever said. You're okay with paying hookers to get good recruits, but not 10% more to get players. First of all, when Louisville had their hookers in the dorm, I didn't pay $1 for that. And I wasn't going to pay $1 for that. Secondly, I'm not okay with it, but I live through the shame because I'm a fan and that's my school. And I root for them at the good and I accept the embarrassing at its worst. But I'm not paying the players. And I'm not paying for the prostitutes either. Just so everybody is totally clear. Caroline will love this one. Craig says, Jared, you're wrong. You just aren't a passionate college football fan. I'm a diehard Notre Dame fan, and if my $120 ticket is now $150 and I have 5-star players at quarterback, wide receiver, running back, and D-line, I'm fine with it. Really? Because your school didn't care enough to keep the coach. LSU offered all that money, and Notre Dame said, good luck. Maybe you should donate to the Notre Dame Collective and you won't get beat by Northern Illinois. Maybe try that one out. All right, Jared versus Joe is next, and I can promise you we do not lack for topics. That's next. Stillman and Company, 615-737-1025 here. Speaking of college football, Vandy is on Saturday. It's going to be a tough one. On the road against Missouri. I believe it's on the road at Missouri. The Commodores take on Missouri, pregame at 1:30, kickoff at 3:15. If they didn't lose Saturday, this would have been a fun game to get excited about. But it's going to be tough sledding for Vandy. Coverage is also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. It is 5 o'clock on a Wednesday. You know what that means. Caroline is here. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, how we doing?
We've got a lot of mixed feelings.
Oh, should we unpack them?
Well, just mixed feelings about the Titans and my anger.
You have mixed feelings about the Titans?
I do.
I gotta feel like you have your mind made up.
Well, I think there's a lot of blame to go around, and I think there's a lot of, happiness that I was right about certain things when everybody told me I was wrong. And then there's a certain bit of disappointment that the team stinks and the quarterback stinks and the where all this is headed stinks.
Quarterback stinks.
It's just been, it's hard to get excited about an entire fall where we may be talking about whether or not the Titans are going to have the number 3 pick.
When do we start Carson Beck talk?
If they lose to Malik on Sunday.
Okay, cool. So next 6 months of draft talk. I know Willie's going to love that.
So, I mean, I hate to say it, but that's when you go with a young quarterback and you're trying to figure out whether or not the young quarterback's going to be the guy. And by week 2, Caroline,
No, he is not the guy.
Once so then what else are you going to do for the rest of the year? It is what it is.
Moan and grovel.
There may be something to that. So we are eagerly awaiting Joe Rexroad, but apparently Joe did not see the call on his phone. I bet you he's got some cheap wireless kind of one way or another. So we will have Joe in just a second, but it is 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, which means it's time for Jared versus Joe.
Jared Stillman versus Joe Rexroad. Now on Stillman and Company.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game.
Jared versus Joe is presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. It's nice to finally have Joe join us. Caroline, lead us off.
Okay, Jared, you start this week. How much blame does ownership get for the Titans 0-2 start?
I think ownership, I think, I'm a little torn here because ownership didn't throw the ball, the shovel pass to the Bears, and ownership didn't roll the ball on the ground to the Jets, and ownership didn't get 2 punts blocked. But at the same time, I think we can all agree they're probably 2-0 with just average quarterback play. Like, if Ryan Tannehill was the quarterback, I think we can agree that they probably would be 2-0. Does anybody disagree with that?
No.
Okay. Well, remember who Charles Robinson said pushed the Levis pick onto the coaching staff. It was ownership. And then let's not forget that when Mike Vrabel got fired and Amy Adams Strunk had her North Korean television interview with Mike Keith, that she was talking about how fans should be excited about the good young quarterback. Mike Lombardi immediately blasted that, saying, good young quarterback. I don't know that about Will Levis yet. And let's not forget that the league, for the most part, was turned off to Levis, at least when it came to drafting him, because nobody did it. And it wasn't like teams didn't have needs. Washington, yeah, they said we're going to go with Sam Howell, but that didn't mean that if they had a quarterback, trust me, if CJ Stroud or Bryce Young had been available, I bet Washington would have picked him. And so the league was out on Levis, but the owner was in on Levis, and Levis is the reason that you're 0-2. I mean, I understand where ownership got the optimism from. Clearly, they hired a coach to help make Levis better. And I'm not going to say that this is the coach's fault, but I'm not sure Levis is much better. In fact, I think you could make the argument Levis might actually be worse than he was last year. So, I mean, I think they're at least a little culpable, but I also think that, the Titans were more built on headlines and vibes and everybody being happy and sunshine and rainbows and lollipops than they were on building a football team, which is why they didn't get a right tackle. And I kind of put that on ownership too. So, I mean, I would say they're culpable. Yeah.
Yeah, the how much questions are tough. By the way, apologies. Apparently, I just realized I guess I haven't been getting phone calls all day because Ian's calls are going to voicemail, so that's a problem. I'll have to figure that out after the.
Are you on Do Not Disturb, Joe?
Maybe. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to undo it.
I hope you don't have a
man
Zoom.
doesn't know how to undo Do Not Disturb.
I hope you don't have a Zoom meeting I hope you don't have a Zoom meeting tomorrow with your bosses at the Athletic at like 8 a.m. That could be a bad sign if your phone's not working.
Yeah, good call. I appreciate it. Oh, okay, seriously, where is that in setting, Caroline?
So if you open up your phone,
just talk to it when we're off the air. Just give it to
All
Siri
right.
and tell it to take it off Do Not Disturb.
Text me during the break. So anyway,
you're not going to get it.
How much? God, that's right. Oh my gosh, I'm screwed. All right, the Do Not Disturb or the Do Not Disturb. The how much question's tough on this, and also, I mean, my initial response is for the 0-2 start. I think we're going maybe a little micro there, right? Like Jared said. Basically, it's like if you don't have two catastrophic turnovers in tandem with two punt blocks, you're probably. I thought it would be, and it's 2-0. But as far as the situation they're in, certainly ownership is very culpable for that. You're talking about, and this is one of those things too that we're gonna see it play out, right? We're gonna see maybe Brian Callahan turns out to be an amazing hire, and Rand Carthon and Callahan have a great run, and it's like, hey, those were rash decisions to fire John Robinson in season and then to fire Mike Vrabel, but it worked out all right. I guess you have to give them credit, or you can say they got lucky, or it crashes and burns and Vrabel goes somewhere and wins the Super Bowl, and then the culpability is really a talking point. But the bottom line is Amy Armstrong made rash decisions, and they're in a tenuous spot. Look, you mentioned Charles's report, Jared. You may have said it a little stronger there in terms of dumped on the coaching staff. Charles said ownership driven is what he was told. What exactly does ownership driven mean? Does it mean there was a conflict from Vrabel and he argued against it? I haven't heard that.
Charles said that the coaching staff did not want to go in that direction.
He said some members. So, were they in lockstep? Is any coaching staff or group of scouts or front office in total lockstep on decisions? Probably not, if we're being real. But to answer Caroline's question, yeah, there's certainly a large level of culpability for the situation they're in. I still don't know for sure. I know Jared thinks he knows everything for sure after a tiny sample of anything. I still don't know for sure where this is going this season.
I wouldn't say that I know. I don't think Levis is going to turn the football over the way he's turned it over the first 2 weeks in week 3 against the Packers. But I have a pretty good idea this team's not making the playoffs. I feel pretty certain that,
right.
When you're right tackle.
So who picked him to? Did any of us pick them to make the playoffs?
No, but the optimism around the building and the vibes and it was all Mike Vrabel's fault and John Robinson's fault. Well, and I do wonder this question.
That's every building, and it annoys me too. I hate that especially. But it's every building, man.
I do wonder how much longer it's all Robinson and Vrabel's fault. Because, again, when Robinson took the job, they won 9 games that first year, and he took over the worst team in the NFL. And when Rand Carthon took over the team, they won 1 less game than Robinson's last year. And so it's like, well, but that's all Robinson's fault. And the fact that this year they don't have a right tackle, that's Robinson's fault. And it's Vrabel's fault that the coaching staff was so bad. When does it no longer become their fault?
Yeah, it's a fair point. And the answer is, especially like this first draft class, the top 2 picks are so crucial, right? But if the Robinson, the end of his era, the draft classes, as we know, disastrous. Well, let's see how these draft classes pan out. I like this one so far, but the 23 one is off to an awfully rough start in 24.
Terrible. It looks terrible right now. Spears, he's not doing anything out there. It's right now the 23 class looks awful, but when do we, put our foot down and say, oh no, this one is awful too? Or when do we say, again, I just am tired of the vibes. I want to see some winning. And I think that ownership has ushered in this culture that the actual winning and losing, while it matters and people get mad about it on Sundays, the way that we're supposed to feel about it is supposed to blame the other people and rely on the vibes and not the fact that since they fired John Robinson, they've won 25% of their games. Caroline.
Okay, on to the next. Joe, you go first for this one. Obviously, they're not going to make a quarterback change right now, but at what point should the Titans consider going to Mason Rudolph? Because we had to bring up Mason Rudolph at least once on the program.
Well, since he is a top 3 back of the NFL, I think it should be right now. No. I say, like, the only way that I would do it is if it gets so bad that it's like the other guys doing their job are angry that Will Levis is quarterbacking them, right? Like it's and Levis is so bad and his confidence is so shot that like people don't even want to watch anymore. And it's like, okay, we get it. That's enough. Mason, finish it up. Like this team is not making any kind of run this year. Could they make a run to be in games that count in December to try to get to the playoffs? Sure, that's possible. Most of the league does, but this is not. I don't think this is a team that has any chance to be special. It's a good defense. I don't think it's a spectacular defense. And so, to me, going to the game manager, middling, good backup quarterback when the whole point of the season is to give every opportunity to your young quarterback to show that he should have this job, it just makes no sense. You don't go there until it's, okay, this is hard to watch. These guys are like, what is this crap? I'm out here busting my butt. We have no chance to win because of Will Levis. So I don't have that's it. It's got to be drastic to me. Short of that, you give Levis the season and you plug through week after week, and then you see where you are at the end.
Couldn't that be Sunday? Like, I'm not saying like if they lose on Sunday, bench him, but you're talking about the moment where Brian Callahan starts to lose the locker room over the quarterback. Like when the team starts to resent the quarterback because he's holding us back. And the reason I use Sunday, I use this for 2 reasons. Number one, I don't know like what the fallout's going to be if they lose to Malik. Like, I don't know. Like, there's part of me that kind of wants to see. Like, this idea of Jordan Love playing on Sunday just depresses me. Because if they get beat by Jordan Love, well, you're supposed to get beat by Jordan Love. But if you get beat by Malik, I mean, it will be, again, I don't know what the fallout of losing to Malik on Sunday is going to be. And so I, again, look at the team. Like, they know Malik sucks. And if Malik comes in here and the defense plays well and they still lose because Will Levis turns it over or because they can't score or because whatever, doesn't that start to become the moment maybe that these guys are like, coach, like, do something? And the second reason that I say it could be this Sunday is there's a part of me that kind of thinks the next big mental boo-boo from Will Levis is 3 strikes and you're out. You know, I'm not talking about Levis threw the ball into double coverage and it got batted in the air and it got intercepted. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Levis with, running back into the end zone and instead of going down and taking a sack, trying to throw the ball. And as he tries to throw the ball running around, it slips out of his hand and it's laying down there on the ground and the Packers recover it for a touchdown. And it's like, I didn't think it could get stupider and it just did. Like, don't we kind of, isn't that the moment where, like, if he does another one of these, don't you have to take him out?
If he does another one of those, like just insane, like, are you kidding plays, then I'm fine pulling him out with the idea of, okay, you just got to go sit over here for a minute, think about it, and we'll revisit. But you said it yourself, Jared, that when you move away from someone, that's typically it, right?
That's it.
Like if it's so, like, I just think that this is too early. like I would not, as a permanent move in week 3, do it. Now, again, if it's a play that bad, I'm not opposed to benching temporarily.
Like, go to your room and think about what you did.
Well, but more just like, okay, let's just stand here and like let's try to think this through and watch the game from a different perspective. And you hope Rudolph comes in and you see what he does, and then you revisit the next week. But that happens sometimes. I mean, it probably happens more in college football than pro football. But if it's something like that, like an insane play, well, then I do think that changes the math. But if it's like, hey, he didn't play very well, and the guy still may be getting restless, and they still may be wondering, man, Mason would be better. To me, you still, again, the point of this season is him. So if the point of this season is him, then you cannot take that small a sample size and give it to the game managing career backup.
Do you think that the team will lose faith in Levis permanently if he loses to Malik on Sunday? Like, doesn't have a stupid, crazy.
Well, tell me how it goes.
He doesn't have a stupid, crazy mistake, but he does turn the football over, and they lose in similar fashion to last week, where there's a lot of bonehead, but there's also a couple of okay plays, and they lose to Malik.
If that's the
I'm
case,
sure.
and they lose to Malik, then that means that Will Levis out boneheaded Malik Willis. And didn't we all make our minds up a long time ago that Malik Willis was not a starting quarterback in the NFL?
Right, but Matt LaFleur.
That would tell me all I need to know.
But Matt LaFleur doesn't let Malik Willis bonehead anything because he had a brilliant coaching plan last week that had him make 2 decisions throwing the football the whole day.
Well, I think Indy also
legs and half the field stuff.
I think Indy also aided in Matt LaFleur's ability to execute his game plan with Malik. Like, did they not know that Green Bay was going to run the ball with Josh Jacobs? He ran it 30 times on Sunday. Like, did they not know that was? I mean, even Belichick.
But the point being, they were Malik proof largely, right? They just manage the game. Yeah, I mean, so that's the thing. Like, if it is Malik Willis Sunday and they do beat the Titans, like if anyone's take is, well, see, they should have kept Malik instead of Levis, then we're moving into incredibly dumb take.
Oh, you're getting that. I'll tell you right now, if that happens
from you,
no, you're getting it. The text line, the callers, the Monday, if you lose to Malik, you are getting those calls. I'm telling you. It doesn't mean the calls are right, and it doesn't mean that that's going to be what the majority of the audience thinks, but it is going to be what you're going to hear. And the argument is going to be that you didn't give Malik the same amount of space and time that you're giving Will Levis. That's what they're going to say. And it'll be hard to argue if Malik comes in here, who you gave away for a ham sandwich last week, and Malik comes in here and beats you. It'll be hard to make that argument. And I do wonder, I am curious to see how the owner's going to react if they lose to Malik on Sunday. Because, I mean,
she's done it before.
So, I mean, there's no way she's taking this standing up, right? There's no way Callahan's getting in front of the media on Monday of next week at 0-3, having lost to a quarterback that they traded for a 7th-round pick, and getting up there and saying, man, I really felt good about some of the things we did in the game on Sunday, right?
If we're going to break, Caroline, tell me how to do not disturb.
I mean, again, Joe doesn't want to say it. He don't want to say that she's going to go crazy if something happens on Sunday.
But doesn't she have every right to go crazy?
She should be furious. Sure.
Yeah, but I don't know, I don't know if you.
I mean, I don't know about fire the quarterback, go crazy, but I think that it would be fair to say, okay, what the hell is going on? We just got beat by Malik Willis.
I think she.
And this was the guy that everybody told me was going to be our quarterback of the future.
I think she needs to stay out of it. She's had her hand too much in the cookie jar, and it hasn't been working out. Just like
he's the owner, it's our team.
I understand. Just like it's Tepper's team in Carolina, and he doesn't want to get beat by 30 points every week. And so Tepper's gonna, do whatever he wants to do because he owns it, but that doesn't mean that he should do it. That does not mean that Tepper should overreact to 2 weeks and bench the guy that he sold the entire farm for in order to pick number one. But he owns a team, so he can do it. I'm just saying, like, I think Amy's done too much of that over the last couple of years, and I think it's time for it to stop. I think it's time for her to sit up in the owner's box and stew on these thoughts herself. And if she wants to say something to Chad Brinker, she can. But if she wait until the end of the year to fire people, don't go crazy in the middle of the season. I think it's time for her to take a little bit of a chill pill. Not saying she's going to do it, but I do think it's time for her to do that. Okay, more.
That sounds good right now. If they lose Malik Willis, then revisit those thoughts.
Joe, swipe down and press the button with the half moon.
Good luck. More Jared versus Joe next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Jared versus Joe is presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. I need to address something, Caroline, before we move on to topic number 3.
Proceed.
Jacob texts into the text line. I'm surprised because Joe normally reads the text line and then, replies to the text line when he gets mad at him for saying that, I'm beating him in Jared versus Joe. But Jacob says on Monday, Robbie and Joe were talking about random games and teams, and quickly he said somebody mentioned Kamara. Joe said he had not watched any Saints at all, but then right after that said that Kamara looks really good this year. Please explain your take on how Alvin Kamara looks, Joe Rexrode, if you have not watched the Saints play.
Ooh, wow. An obscure call out. Well, he looks very good on the 3 runs that I saw in the highlights against the Cowboys. Do we agree or no? I thought he looked awesome.
That's
what I'm basing it on.
At the games, they have that, like they go, you know how it is, around the NFL. And the 2 games they kept showing, it was like, and former Vol Alvin Kamara takes it in for a touchdown. I think the Titans have spent too much time on Twitter because they played Rocky Top for Tony Vitello, and then they kept saying former Vol Alvin Kamara on the Jumbotron, and those runs did look good. And you want to know what the other game, Joe? The other game they kept highlighting on Sunday inside the stadium was?
What's that? I was there.
Sam Darnold and Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Sammy D knocking off the NFC champions.
I love it.
By the way, who'd you rather have now, Sam Darnold or Tua?
I'm rooting for you.
Who would you rather have now, Sam Darnold or Tua?
In this moment, I'll take Sam Darnold.
That's far.
Okay, thank you.
That's a little far.
When Tua returns from his concussions?
Who would I rather have, Sam Darnold or Tua? Yes, I will take Tua. Thanks.
Okay. Did you watch game Thursday? I did. Tua against good teams. Stinks. But Darnold against the 49ers, I'm just saying, Caroline, go.
I am glad to see, though, that the Titans have stopped spitting in the faces of Vols fans.
No, they had Tony Vitello. He stuck that sword in there, and they blasted Rocky Top. You cannot say that they are spitting in the face of Vol fans anymore.
Not until they draft Nico Iamaleava, you can't.
It wouldn't surprise me if Will Levis sucks so bad. It would not surprise me if the Titans come out and add 10% to the PSLs they're trying to sell, and they're going to give 10% of that to the Vol players just so they don't spit in the faces of them anymore.
You know what? That's probably why Will Levis is struggling so much, is because he went to Kentucky.
They probably threw him off.
Well, since you bring up the 10% tax, let's talk about it. The 10% player tax on the tickets starting next season, is that fair? Jared, you go first.
I think it's perfect for UT. In fact, fair, and I don't know if you mean fair to the fans to have to pay 10% for the players or not. I think that no matter what they would have done, the fans would have paid more money and the UT would have given money to the players. So it's all semantics about how you say they're getting it. Like, even if they raised the money on the tickets so that they could put it towards the facilities, so then they could tell the boosters, don't donate to the facilities, but donate to NIL, it's still kind of the same, right? Like, it's all just where you're moving the money around. But this might not be fair to everybody else. And I don't have a problem with that, but this is reality because the Tennessee fan base is so desperate to win. I think that Tennessee, Texas A&M, LSU, like, there's a handful of these schools. It's not every school in the SEC. Like, I don't know if Florida fans would pay 10% to pay the players to win more games. I'm serious about
now
that.
They would.
I think they pay 10% to buy out the coach. But even then, I don't know if they'll do that. Like, I don't know if Florida, I know Notre Dame won't do that. I promise you. I don't know. The thing about Tennessee is that their fans will do whatever it takes. They will endure any shame. And I don't think there's really shame in this, but just generally speaking, they'll endure any shame as long as they can win at football. Like, if it became hiring Bobby Petrino, like, they'd do it. Hiring, anybody, it doesn't matter. They do it to win at football because they don't care about anything else. They don't care about how they win. They'll do it. And then the second thing is, I think that's a fan base that wants to feel like they're a part of the team. Like, Nick Saban used to talk all the time about the Alabama fans and how much he appreciated them, but then also said, I don't really care what the fans think. You can't say that at Tennessee. Those fans want to feel like a part of the team. That's why Tony Vitello's such a good fit there, because he goes and he crowd surfs and he's one of them. And I think this is perfect for UT. I don't think you can go to Vandy and ask Nana and Papa, who have been paying for Vandy tickets for 30 years, to pay 10% extra to pay the players. I don't think Nana and Papa are interested in that. I don't think you can go to Auburn, where they want to fire every coach every 5 minutes, but then bear no responsibility in helping Auburn get better other than to complain about it. I don't think you can go to them and ask for this. So it may not be fair to the other schools, because the other schools may not have the fan bases that are like, take my money and give it to the players. So that's where I think it might be unfair. I think it's great. I think the fans are going to love this, and they'll feel a part of the team by doing this.
The only thing I disagree with is like the idea that like you couldn't do this at Auburn. I mean, any big SEC fan base, you're going to see it all over the place. It's just a shell game. The true headline is Tennessee is raising ticket prices by 14.5% next year. So that is a massive hike. Okay, so why? Okay, let's say that this 10% coming in that's part of the revenue sharing, and we'll have this statement, and more than ever, revenue is tied to success, and so now, I mean, it's just a way to get more donations. It's a shell game. It's money going into your athletic department. You need more revenue. These schools next year are going to be paying. Some estimate $22 million, but it might be closer to $30 million, and that's just in the first year revenue sharing. So, I mean, I think it's smart of UT to frame it this way. I think it's going to work. They have a waiting list. And to Jared, the one thing that, Jared, I think you kind of were dancing around it, but I think is key here is the programs that are chasing right now, they haven't actually, I think, have an easier time with something like this. It's just like even donor fatigue with NIL. Like Georgia and Alabama, they've won titles recently. So it's like, man, and I just gave $500,000, and that quarterback kind of sucked. I just lit my money on fire. Whereas tennis, so you got the donor fatigue there, and then you also just have the fan base that I think isn't as desperate as Tennessee's is. They are desperate to win. They think that they're on their way now, and the momentum is high, and it's been forever. So they are the perfect fan base because of that drought to hit with something like this. And like I said, though, I think they'll all do in some form or fashion this donation or ticket price raise or seat licensing raise or whatever. This is going to the players.
But I don't think you can go to these other fan bases. I think you can do, again, I think there is a difference in fan base between, say, Tennessee and Alabama. Like, I think that, again, you can go to LSU and say, hey, we're taking your money to pay the players. And I think LSU fans will say, we're in. I think you can go to A&M and say, we're taking your money to pay the players, and they'll say, we're in. I'm not sure you can do that everywhere else. But you're right, because I don't think they care as much. Like, I don't think
they care at Alabama.
I don't think they're as desperate as what Joe just said. Like, they're not as desperate.
Well, but they care as much. They're just not. They've had success recently, so there's a certain level of being fat and happy or whatever. But no, I mean, these SEC fan bases, they may be vary in size and vary in how many billionaires you have, but they're all very passionate.
I just don't think you can go to these SEC. Like, I don't think you can go to Missouri and say, we're going to raise your ticket prices 14%.
I think that you absolutely can.
I do not think you can go to those and say it. But at UT, because they feel a part of the team, it's just like, my money's going to the team, baby. And they get excited about that. In fact,
I think you're singling them out more than they should be.
I just don't think, like these other schools, I think a lot of these schools in the SEC, they all expect to win. So all the top end schools expect to win. Tennessee, LSU, Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, not South Carolina, A&M, Texas, Oklahoma. They all expect to win. But I think there's a level of like desperate, or a level of, if my team says do it, I'll do it, that UT fans will do, that I'm telling you Kentucky fans will not do. Kentucky basketball fans, for instance, would not have paid the bill on John Calipari's buyout, and they were ready for Calipari to go. And we know how much Kentucky basketball fans love Kentucky basketball. I just don't think they would have paid that buyout. Whereas I do think if John Calipari, if again, let's say the Tennessee football program was having the same kind of lack of success when it really mattered as the Kentucky basketball program was, I think Tennessee fans would have paid for that coach to go. I just think there's just something about UT. And for some reason, like with LSU, they told me when they hired Kim Mulkey, they'll do whatever it takes to win and they don't care. And with A&M, I think A&M's so desperate to be better than Texas.
Because I feel like I have a little bit better of a pulse on that specific fan base than you do. I can tell you right now that if LSU put a 10% tax on tickets to attract talent, I would say about 90% of that fan base would say, screw you and up yours.
Even the same people that are okay with Kim Mulkey as the basketball coach?
Well, that's two different things.
I mean, she's pretty shameless.
Yep, they're okay with a basketball coach that brought the very first basketball national championship to that school. Yes, 1,000%. But there's a difference.
But they were okay
between
with
that
it before
and
she won
paying
the title.
10% extra for a football team that hasn't shown any progress since Brian Kelly has gotten there. I promise you, the fan base will say, well, what are we paying him $10 million for?
Right. But my point with Kim Mulkey, like before she won the title, the same shameless issues followed her. And they didn't care.
What's the comparison there?
My point
We're talking
is
about money that the fan base has to pay versus a coach.
My point is, again.
So, I think Jared's going off the reservation here.
My point, though, is what you originally said, Joe, which is the desperation to win. I think Tennessee fans will do whatever it takes, no matter what. And I don't think every fan base in the SEC, even the ones that care, I don't think they're that way. Whereas I do think A&M, that, will gladly pay Jimbo Fisher's buyout of $1 trillion, will be totally okay with that. And I think LSU fans, again, it may end up being to pay Brian Kelly to go away, but they'll do it. Those are the fan bases that will win, will do what it takes to win no matter what. Florida and Auburn are the fan bases.
Florida 1,000% would do
They
that.
do not put their money where their mouth is. They bitch, but they don't pay. Does that make any sense?
No, look, first of all, the old way to judge this would be facilities, which I know is boost, but that's, obviously that's the super rich boosters in a lot of cases, but there's still, fans are still, if you're filling these stadiums and these facilities are updated, then these fan bases are paying. They are paying, man. They are absolutely giving up their cash. And another thing about this, and I don't know the data, but I would like to see where Tennessee's season ticket pricing scale is compared to some of the programs that have been winning lately, right? I mean, that's another part of this is like, okay, so where is it relative to the rest of the league?
Do you guys remember when Kirby Smart brought Ludacris in for a spring game practice or whatever, spring game concert, and Ludacris, it got out there that the university fund or whatever paid for condoms and alcohol and stuff like that. And the people were just, how dare they? And Georgia was like, oh, we didn't know. We're sorry. I can tell you right now, Tennessee fans would not be upset at all if they had to pay for condoms for Ludacris.
Huh.
I mean, do you think Tennessee fans would be upset? Tennessee fans would be like, yeah, we'll buy. If Ludacris wants us to buy IUDs, we'll do it. That's how Tennessee fans are.
I don't know how we
You're
got
acting
to contraception. But I mean, I don't know what to say about that.
It's like
But what I
Alabama and Georgia think they're in the country club, and Tennessee knows that they're not, and they're okay with it.
Right. Okay, but you brought up Missouri. I just got a text from a good point. It's like it really is supply and demand. I mean, so Missouri. Let's say Missouri does the same thing.
Missouri fans would do it with bells on.
They'll pay. Absolutely. I mean,
with bells on.
Part of it is, of course, you don't. This is a perfect timing for Tennessee to do this too. They're 3-0. They're number 6. They look amazing. They haven't yet potentially lost this game in Oklahoma, which all of a sudden gets everybody mad.
That's great. That's great. We got it. We got to get to the next one very, very quickly. Caroline, go.
Okay, Joe, you go first. Is it a problem that Nicholas Petit-Frere is now a fantasy football analyst?
I think it's a bad. I mean, I think it's a bad look. I think it's a little bit tone deaf on his part. A problem. like, I guess my question back would be like, what extent of a problem? I think it'll continue, and I think it's a little weird, and especially given his history, from last year. But like a problem beyond that, I mean, the optics are not good. That's the problem to me.
It shows me that he has no shame. Saquon Barkley reached out to Dan Patrick directly to say, hey, I'm not going to do the show on Tuesday, even though I was supposed to, because I dropped the pass that cost us the game, and I don't want people to look at it that way. So far, PT has allowed 11 pressures, 2 sacks, 1 hit, and 8 hurries, according to Pro Football Focus, and those are the most generous numbers on him. And I would just like to tell everybody that that's why we have the right tackle story. Caroline, who wins this week?
Joe wins this week. Jared, you are so off base with this 10% tax thing.
I'm just telling you, Tennessee fans are more desperate. Guys, thank you so much. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company, 1025, 106 for the game. Stillman and company very disappointed about my loss in Jared versus Joe, but I will stand by the fact that there's a certain vibe to Tennessee football fans that's just not the same with Alabama and Georgia and some of the other places. And I think it's kind of like and look, there are hillbillies in the Georgia fan base and the Alabama fan base, but I think Tennessee prides itself on its hillbilliness more than the others. And that's why the fact that they can pay the players, I think they're all for it. Tommy says, I'm a Vols fan, and I don't think it's fair that tickets are already through the roof, but it is what it is. Another texter says, I'm a Tennessee fan, and I'm not paying 10% extra to help the school. I'm saving 100% and never buying a ticket because we've reached that limit. Yeah, but Tennessee fans, one texter, Ty, says they'll all pay it, but Tennessee fans will be happier about it. 615-737-1025. I got to tell you about Window Nation. I love my friends at Window Nation. And what you want to make sure that you don't do is you want to make sure that you don't let all of your cool air escape your windows. And when the winter comes, you do not want to let all that heat escape it either. So what do? You call Window Nation because most of your cold AC leaked out of the windows. So save money year-round with energy-efficient ones from Window Nation. Right now, buy 2 windows, you'll get 2 free. Plus, pay nothing for 24 months. And love your windows like Albert, who said great value, great product, and great customer service. Again, the sale ends September 30th. So get 2 windows free for every 2 you buy, plus pay nothing for 24 months. That's 866-90-NATION for a fast in-home estimate, 866-90-NATION and windownation.com. Stillman and Company, and I got to tell you, I'm starting to get scared. TD, who will be on the Power Hour tomorrow at a later time, but TD came through here, and he said he was talking to some people in Green Bay that saw Jordan Love out there on the football field today, and it's like last week, Robbie was he kind of sounded like one of these people that, was kind of like a Jordan Love truther, I think, as he was going to his first game at Lambeau Field, and he wanted to see Jordan Love, and he didn't want to see Malik Willis play. And I totally understand that, but let's not kid ourselves, like he sprained his MCL. He's definitely not going to play. And so I knew that Malik was ultimately going to play no matter how much they said Jordan Love was going to play. Well, now they're doing the same thing again this week where they're like, no, there's a chance Jordan Love can play. And because it's the Titans and because it's Malik, I care a lot more. And I care a lot more about the idea that we could have this great Malik Willis, Will Levis showdown stolen from us by Jordan Love being healthy. And I don't want that. That's it for us. Stillman and Company. We'll see everybody tomorrow too.